Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
And he wins it. Bo Byram to Arturi Lekkinen, near side circle. Looks down ice. Oh, yes! It's a work of art. And we're all up all night to get lucky. Haynes played across. Slavin for Burns. Hurricanes will change the forwards. Drury will get to this. He'll snap one. That'll go just wide. Now Burns with it. Hit shot. He'll score! Brent Burns, no hesitation. And the Canes get the lead right back.
Martinez brings home the pitch, and Tellez rips it down the right field line. This ball is up, and this ball is gone. Rowdy Tellez inside the foul pole down the right field line for his third home run of the season. And the Brewers strike first. It's 2-0 Crew.
Rutschman slams it. Deep right field. This is headed towards the bleachers. And it's gone. And it's a walk-on. The punctuation mark on the Orioles' first homestand. Adley Rutschman sends the Orioles fans home happy. And his teammates waiting for him at home plate as he will get the blue Gatorade bath. And the Orioles will get a series win and a walk-off win. 8-7 over the Athletics.
Iron sharpens iron. Starts with Coach Dono. He's a old school blue collar type grinder, and those guys play together, and it's really making us better. I mean, it's fun to go against those guys because you can see them working. You can see them always constantly getting better, challenging the defense. They're making us really know the game and really know what we got to do. So it's really neat to go against those guys.
The end of an era in Chicago. Jonathan Toews, bye-bye.
At least so class though. He got it. He got his little 5 minutes
And he scored.
and he played well. It's a weird relationship. Let me not speak on it. We'll save it for 9:45 till we get Vrzal and let you go. Well, you're not even a Blackhawks fan.
No, but I'm a Blues fan, so it'll be fine.
Right. So did you that's a franchise. That's game recognizing game. What the kids like to say, right? They kind of gave him his moment, and they're gonna it's amicable. You're gonna wash your hands of it. Like he stole from you guys for a little while,
A couple of times,
but he also rewarded your franchise too. Like that's just how it goes, right?
Mhm.
And I'm surprised he gave him the mic for so long, but it's cool. Like I get it, right?
right? People are
And
there
it's-
to hear him.
Yeah, and it's
see him.
Chicago. Like they're probably 45% of that arena was there to see how it was going to be.
Oh yeah, I asked my soon-to-be brother-in-law if he was going to cry.
Yeah.
And he said,
You
odds are
guys
high.
have been talking a lot, man. It's good,
Mhm.
good to like the other part of the family.
Oh, you married the family.
Hey, listen, that's a hot take. Much
What?
better when you get along with the in-laws.
Is it a hot take?
DB hot take. Woo! Tell you what, man, we're scorching already.
Yeah, I'll tell you what wasn't scorching. My no runs in the first inning bet that I gave
Hey,
Brunson yesterday.
that thing was awful.
From the start,
Hey,
from the go, a home run. Home runs happen way too often now in the first. I told you guys in the group thread. I got to start betting the over.
hey, Brunsey giving you the laughy emoji was just classic. Right? It's just like
Yeah, because he's like, yeah, that's what you get.
because I'm telling quietly, that's a guy. We don't hang out a ton, but I've seen I remember one time we were at a buddy of mine's mutual. Must have been a party. This guy Jason Hurd, and we were just in the backyard, and that's kind of when I first fell in love with Brunsey. I was like, because you see this guy and he's super raily and his hair is perfect, and he kind of has these. At that time, they were kind of close to like horn rim glasses, and then you talk to him, and he's super. I mean, he's just in his element. Like we're in the backyard and chopping it up. And I'm like, this dude is funny. You know what I mean? It's like
I should hang out with you more. That's
So,
what you,
yeah,
that's what you say when you leave.
Yeah, I'm dead dog serious. I'm like, oh man, I'd like to be your friend. But
the 3-inch Bill Callahan playbook or whatever that everybody kind of lost their crap about.
That's Brunsey, right? It's like, and he doesn't even, and maybe he does. Funny guys usually know they're funny, but yeah. But unfortunately for me, there's probably a few too many people that I feel like that around. I say this all the time, and part of it is my insecurity. I think I like most people that I like. I feel I like them more than they like me. So I never impose.
Which I think is funny because I'd venture to say it's the other way around.
So I like never impose, right? I'm not, like even last night, right? Like most of the time, I'm cool to play. We can't play music, but there's a song from.
Still mad about it.
I am mad, and I told myself like I'm in a fairly positive mood, and a lot of it has to do with yesterday.
Yeah, the Jet Awards.
That was part of it, There's a song Lecrae by Lecrae. It's called Background.
Not sure I've heard it.
When you get some time, go play it.
I'll tell you what. I have a 4.5-hour drive to Jeff City today. I will play it.
Man, that's a terrible drive.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun.
So there's parts right when we got from past Dubuque getting into Wisconsin. I took it like it looked a lot like going through Missouri. And I don't know what you call them. What are the brown things that they're elevated? They're not plateaus. Are they bluffs?
Like valleys?
Are they bluffs? It's like
Probably.
the rock and it's brown and it has little grooves in it.
Yeah. That's
like what are those?
Oh, because
they kind of like
you always see the sign when you're driving up that says falling rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a stretch just north of Dubuque where you're going into Wisconsin. I'm like, God, it feels like we're going to St. Louis because there's that stretch where that's all you see around you, and it's kind of scenic.
Bluffs.
Is it bluffs? Yeah. Okay. And I'm like, man, I feel like we got another 7 hours. It's starting to give me the willies.
Did I go the wrong way?
Right. Because it kind of comes out of nowhere. And you don't think of it as elevated, but anyway, yesterday started with, it was just strange. My high school coach got obviously cancer sucks, and he got a diagnosis.
And I'm sorry to hear that.
Was not very favorable. So his son, and he's a Northwest legend, my high school. Like he coached me, kind of helped instill some toughness. He made the life-changing decision to have me change positions, which in essence did change my life, right? Like a 1-year running back in high school, like all of a sudden had doors open up for him as a guy that had played quarterback. And I didn't even want to do it. It was his idea, right? So there's some things internally that I'm grateful for that. And so before we had to be at Baxter yesterday for a rehearsal, which, by the way, if that ever happens again, dude, gonna have some speaks with Uncle Johnny. Not playing. And my man is so smooth. He just he's doing 1,000 different things, so he just kind of bounced, and it turns into
so he got to leave.
Well, it's not like he's not working now.
Oh, okay.
He's everywhere in the arena. He's not where he needs to be.
Okay.
So then,
I thought you meant he literally bounced.
So then,
from
my
the
main man, the backbone, Denny Drake, is busy. Like he's in the truck and he's got to mess with the script and he's got new videos and it all came late. So 1:30 to 2:30, your boy left Baxter at 3:50. 3:50. Still got to go iron, do the thing, shower,
clean up.
Then I had to go get Zoe, and I'm steaming. I'm like, I was at home for 45 minutes, flipped it around, got back. But anyway, I didn't let that bother me because of the meeting that I had early on with Michael. We sat on his deck. His son was there, and we just talked about cooking and life. And, he wanted to run some errands. And I said, Coach Hannell, I said, you got some places you got to go? And he said, I need new clothes. I got to go shopping. He said, I'm going from a 40-inch belt to 32. My heart broke, right? Because he's real matter of fact about it. I'm devastated. But I told him, I said, gosh, your voice, just hearing your voice. And the cool thing about the whole cool thing about the story, and this kind of will get into the Jet Awards. He had just taken some it's kind of like a sedative to manage the pain. And so Steve, his son, was like, hey, Dad's a little out of it. Just got to kind of be patient. And so when we're out on the porch, he's got this he's a huge Nebraska fan. Puts his hat, he kind of cocks it to the side. And his son goes, hey, it's Dad. Because your hat's kind of on crooked. Yeah, when the wind blows, that bothers my hearing aid. It kind of whistles in my ear. Like just real kind of flippant and funny. I was afraid to laugh, but it was funny. And I think he was trying to be funny. So he's talking about going shopping.
You need to laugh in those moments.
So we're kind of in and out talking about meat and cooking and, you know, Tiger Tom's and all these places around town. And he said, hey, you coach with is there a Metzler over there? I was like, oh, yeah. I said, yeah, Brad. I said, it's funny you bring him up. I said, I actually love that guy. I said, he got fast tracked into administration. So he's not coaching anymore, but he does get to impact kids. I said, he's in the hallway all the time. Like, I love just pretending I'm policing the halls, but really he's doing his job right. I said, he's a fave. And he said, he took his hat off and he said, yeah. He said, remember my old place in Keystone? It's a neighborhood, not too far from where my mom is. And I was like, yeah. I said, I remember. He said, boy, he said, that Metzler, I almost didn't move. Didn't want to leave the neighborhood. Love the family. Unbelievable people. I just miss good people. He kept saying unbelievable. Mm-hmm. So I had to kind of, it was the one time in the conversation where he was the most fluid. That, you know, just his ability to recall and tell stories. So I didn't have a ton of time, but I on the way, because I had to go to Baxter. So on the way from 200th and Dodge, I swung by West Side and I tracked Metz down, and I'm just like, I got to tell you this story. And I didn't tell him who I was talking about. I just said, I was with a guy today. He paused and he said, Frank Hannell? And I had to leave, right? I'm like, I said, I just want you to know, man, like, you just never know, you know, the impact. Mm-hmm. And so we got to Baxter, and the whole day I'm just watching guys interact. Old heads, new heads. You know, right when I get there, EC Crouch is like the first guy to grab me. He's like, hey, you know, I want to talk to you, and got a golf. Like, we just kind of chopped it up. He looked sharp, man. He had this, I said, man, you look good. I like, you know, a plaid tie on. Like, you know, EC's a good looking guy, and we're just kind of shooting a breeze. And I mosey on down the stairs, because you know how the arena split there, so you can go down the stairs from what'd you call the bar up there? What is
the concourse?
Yeah, so that's where all the people were hobnobbing, but then down where all the tables were set up on the.
Oh, I guess you're talking about the.
It's actually where the bar
the
is.
VIP lounge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then you walk down the stairs, right, and then you're where the ice would be. So you're on the main floor.
Yeah.
And there's only like 12, 15 people in there. Some people are kind of making their way over to the tables, but most people are at the VIP thing upstairs. But it was much cooler, and it was away from people. So I went downstairs, and it's just me and T-Fray. I was just talking with Tommy, and then CJ Cavazos and Coach Rule came down the stairs. And I mean, their business is their business, but just to watch the interaction was fantastic. I mean, it's 15, 16 minutes of just storytelling, and do you remember, and do you know? And for a moment, I just was, I don't know if proud's the word, but like, it just felt good, right? Then Clester comes over, and then, you know, Abdul comes over, and I'm watching, you know, Abdul brings like 30 kids, right, which is what the event's about, and they're like kind of carrying on back and forth, and I watched all the interactions of all people, different kinds of people that felt comfortable enough to not have to conform. Well, I'm not just going to run and be I'm still going to be who, you know, God has called me to be, but man, we've got some common ground. And for 20 minutes, I just watched. And I'm telling you, like, it made me feel like I was kind of proud of the state, you have some power brokers, right? I mean, there's Ricketts and Yanni and Mayor Stothart's there. And just to see the meshing and people feeling comfortable because of authenticity, like I felt.
Did you feel a sense of moving forward?
I hope so. He knocked it out of the. It's funny. Another reason why I like him, he had no idea what he was going to say. What he was going to talk about. None. He said, "I'm just going to get a feel," and I wanted to dap him up. I was like, "My man," right? Because that's when you're asked to be a keynote speaker, or not a keynote speaker, but when you're speaking, like I'm not a speech guy. I don't do any of that, right? And I know that's not for everybody, but sometimes you just want to get a feel. And so he like knocks it out of the park, and people, stand and clap like three different times. They stood at the end, and all I kept nodding to myself. I just kept nodding to myself. I looked at Coach Reed, who's on the chair, and I said, I don't know about wins and losses, but one thing I know I'm not wrong about is that's a good person, right? Like that's an easy person to cheer for. We listened to Darius Davis talk, the Jet Award winner. That's an easy person to cheer for. Listen to the 3 scholarship recipients from Metropolitan Community College. Just seemed, one guy was saving for a truck, and he said within the next month or 2, he's hoping to get his own truck because he went to school for trades. And he said, I spent most of my life turning left. He said, now I'm finally turning right. Like it's like I felt like I was legitimately kind of having moments, and contrary to popular belief, I think, and you and I were talking about this, just being natural. This is all fair. Like when you feel comfortable enough, just because it's an environment where you trust people around you and you think like they actually believe in you, like you can do anything. I truly, truly believe that when you just let it go. And it's weird. I can't really put it into words, but like to watch people just feel like they're okay. Like Tommy and Clester talking to a Nebraska head coach, just kind of shooting the breeze, is relatively new. For those people, like that's relatively new.
For those that aren't intertwined with
right.
With those relationships.
And to step back, and each has different backgrounds and each of their reasons for whatever. But just being empowered to do so, it's because of the presence of, it's not familiarity, because they don't know Coach Rule. They don't know CJ. They know Trev, but just to feel like there's this approachable, there's this thing about him that makes him approachable, which lowers your guard, which just allows you to be authentic. And I don't know what it is. I've been trying to put my finger on it since he's been here, right? After listening to him, it's just authenticity. It's just, he even tells the stories, and sometimes like there's like not positive parts in the story, and you miss it because he doesn't skip a beat. Just, it's the equivalent to me saying, I fell down, broke my arm, I needed 17 stitches in my forehead, and we were on the swing, and it was just, and you're like, wait a minute. Like, you just skipped over that part.
Right. And excuse me, you're the king of always saying, like, hey, we missed the lead, guys. Like, let's go.
Timeout, right? Like, we're burying the lead. But it was just like, I don't know. It was, I actually think we've got a chance.
Well, and you talked about how.
Did you heard Graham the other day? Like, I think we have a chance. You listen to Doc Rob? I think we have a chance. I just
believe.
Right. And it's not because, and the cool thing about it is, it's not because I know you or you're my boy. It's because I've watched you work and I can vibe. Now, we'd love to win. And he said that like twice last night in a story about his family. So it's kind of weird. But you could just tell he wants to win. And he's uber competitive. Right. But the kicker was, what really got me was I told him, I said, hey, I've been doing this for a long time, either on the committee or being involved with the Jet Awards. Joy's been on the voting panel. And I said, we've had some some coaches kind of not really embrace it. Some have kind of left early, and he said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "What's up?" And a couple of other players around there. He's like, "My son flew into town. I want to get back and see him." And that kind of put things into perspective, right? Because while he was talking, he says, "Johnny Rogers calls, you pick up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Osborne's going to be in attendance, like you be there. My boss, Trev, says, we've got this event. You need to be there. It's for the community. You need to be there." And all the while, he's still talking. I'm listening, but I'm thinking, did he just say his son's flying in town tonight? And at the very end of the conversation, he goes, "Man, I don't know." I said, "Coach," I didn't even have to say anything. He said, "I miss my son. I miss my son." You talk about a guy that had to regain his focus, because there's nothing greater for me than when I see somebody embrace being a dad, just as a dude, right? That's kind of my thing, because I think how important the kids are to me. And it's just this dude is here. He's spending all this time with people. He took 55. He took a ton of pictures.
And that's what I was going to lead into when you talked about how approachable he is.
It's unreal.
When that point of the conversation.
And when he said that, and I wanted to just convey to him, I said, "Hey, I know this show, when the auction starts, just slide out, man. Go be a dad, right? Just go be great.
Yeah, get out of here.
Go be great, right?" And it was just, I don't know. I got home. I was wired, walked around. I ate my brains out for an hour. I was starving, man. I missed my whole plate. But I just feel like there's just some family components. And when you have a big monster business like Nebraska athletics, there has to be some commonality and some intentionality to it. And I think the commonality is if you're not about other people and empowering people to be better, I just don't think you can be a part of it. I don't care what your role is. I don't care if you're Dr. Chatters. I don't care if you're Trev Alberts. I don't care if you're Doug Ewald. I don't care if you're Matt Rule. If you're not about empowering other people and putting other people first, I just don't think you can. And I go back to Trev's original presser where he said, your individual needs can never be greater than the program. He's built it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I don't know about wins and losses, but I do know there's a component about cheering for other people. And I've said this 1,000 times. That's when the magic happens. This is how it goes.
Great takeaway. Really appreciate you sharing that story for all of our listeners out there. We'll set up the show when we come back. Stay tuned. Mike Schaefer coming your way first. We'll continue to talk about some things we heard in practice and maybe further the Jet Gala conversation. That's next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
The guys have been doing a good job. We've learned a lot. We've learned how to practice. We're still learning how to practice. We're learning the execution of the defense, and so we're putting guys in a ton of different positions and trying to just see them go execute and play at a high level.
I want to get into that, learning how to practice. But before I do, let's set up the show. Schaefer actually at 8 o'clock now. He has been moved. We put him in a car, maybe from Dingman's, and moved him over to 8 o'clock, the 8 o'clock segment. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll talk to Mike Sautter, as we do every single Friday. Vrzal, Matt Vrzal at 9:45. Also a regular on a Friday. All
Right.
three of these guys are regulars. I shouldn't even just list them all off like that. But
I wonder how he'll feel about Taves.
yeah, that'll be.
He's all in on the Blackhawks.
Yeah, that'll probably be a sentimental subject for him.
Yeah.
We'll play trivia with DB. We didn't get to that last week, but we'll make sure to do that this week. We'll also do something a little bit different on the show at 9:30. We'll have some guests in and talk about whiskey, and which, believe it or not, DB may. I know there's clear whiskeys, but you may have to try a brown.
Is there I almost said, is there a Tennessee whiskey? I was like, that's not it. My man, Coach Lovell, Trev at Westside, when he got married, one of the early songs they played was Tennessee whiskey. And believe it or not,
Tennessee whiskey.
Listen, this was last summer downtown at his wedding. And that was the first time I had heard the song. And I know, judge me all you want, but I had never heard it before. And everybody was just like having a moment, man. I'm like, man, I ain't never heard this song. Like, is this supposed to be a jam? And people looked at me like, I asked one of my guys, asked Coach Packett, I was like, hey, man, like, did I miss this song? Like, oh, he's like, this is for the bourbons and the Cadillacs.
No, whiskey, Shane. We're talking about whiskey.
This dude could ruin a wet dream. Like, what's wrong with him? I hate when he does that. Like, what's wrong with this dude?
You may have to drink something brown.
Probably not.
You know what it is.
Have to try it.
You know what it is.
What? Collide. It's a song.
His two worlds are about to collide.
I can't stand this dude. Like I'm dead dog serious. Like,
you know, on another planet right now, you're kicking Shane behind.
So are there clear whiskeys?
There's white whiskeys, right?
No, I
don't know.
Hey, look,
Images.
Let's do this slow. Does this look like somebody that enjoys knowing about whiskeys? I have no idea. I don't even know the difference. I asked somebody once. I shouldn't say that, and they told me clearly what is.
Stillhouse is a clear whiskey.
So somebody did tell me the difference between a bourbon and a whiskey, but I was just getting ready to say I'm not even that well versed. I have a couple of buddies too. Well, one's a buddy, one's I call him a buddy. He looks out for me. So one, Andy Ruback, who's the CEO at Nebraska News Channel.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if it's bourbon or whiskey, but he's into that world.
He's into that party.
But Connor Milliken's dad, Matt, was like a connoisseur. Now, since then, he's evolved. He's gotten much smarter. He's into critiquing tequilas now. He's moved on from that dirtball stuff. But he knows. He used to collect. Like he's that guy.
He's a connoisseur.
Yeah, well versed. So I'll be curious. I'll ask questions. I'm always interested. And plus, if people want to gather and have a good time and have it's a fest.
Right. Omaha Whiskey Fest. And to add to that, we'll have a trivia question, as we like to play trivia on Friday. We'll have one trivia question for the segment. If you call or DM first or however, we'll talk about that during the break, how we want to attack giving away 2 free tickets to Whiskey Fest. We'll do that on the show with, I believe it's Lori and one other person that's stopping by. I'll have to go back and officially check my notes. I probably should have done that prior to. But with that, we'll get into conversations about practice. We're talking about practice. Man.
You talking about practice?
And we'll do that. And just some other fun things that just kind of come and go on the show, right? We'll just go with the flow today. Mm-hmm. But to kick things off, we came back with the clip from Dvorak talking about learning how to practice. And I overlooked that until I just heard it again. And what it instantly made me think of was, how much do you really have to learn at practice? And I know it's a new staff. I know they're trying to instill some new things on these guys. But for about 11 practices now, maybe more, we're still talking about learning how to practice. Am I diving too deep into that, thinking like they want them to practice a certain way and they're just not there yet? Or do they really have to learn the X's and O's of what they're trying to accomplish when they get to the practice field? Or is it just a mentality thing? But at the end of the day, what I think about is, how much do you have to learn how to practice? No, you just kind of do practice. You kind of do what you're told. When you get out there, You listen to what coach has to say, and then you put effort in, and that's it. That's what practice is. It's getting better at the skill, but also taking in what your coach is telling you. Maybe that's what he's saying, learning how to practice. I would assume that's where he's going with that. But I always find it weird whenever I hear somebody say, yeah, they're learning how to practice when they're collegiate athletes.
I get it. But when you're in it, so do you remember why I told you I liked? I know you're not going to, because sometimes when I put you on the spot for recall of all the dribble that I say, it's like, I don't really remember.
Love the way you dribble.
Wow. Do you remember what I told you I loved about Dvorak, watching him work?
Is it when he pulled guys aside?
I called it stealing reps, right? He would pull guys to the side, plays would go, and he'd fire off questions. Hey, which shot are we using when we take on that puller? What do we call that concept when you see the cloudy versus clear? And you got so he and Maverick Noonan, these guys are just rapid fire. He was talking to Grant Taggy, and I said, I'm just standing back, and I'm like, if we had enough coaches on our staff, that's exactly what I would tell guys to do, because you're trusting when your guys aren't around. And I'm saying, hey, to Bo Ryan. He's not a good example because he was playing, but Hurtado, I'm like, hey, you got to steal reps when those top two guys are in and you're watching Kubrich. Watch how he's playing the puller, especially inside run. And you're trusting that the player's going to actually do it when you're not around. Dvorak, they got assistants, and even when he let the assistants run like the particular play, and he'd come and he'd tell those guys, those are practice habits. Those are things that you don't innately do as a player because you're probably not accustomed to it. There's a movement, a tempo, a pace in which you go from drill to drill. There's are we conversating? Are we not conversating? Are we getting feedback after the play? Are we getting feedback before the play? Can I ask questions? Do I just roll with it and get the criticism? There's lots of little things about learning how to practice that aren't natural, even at that level. And the funny thing is, the number one thing that Coach Lamanji wants to change, and I actually think it's really good for a high school, especially if you come watch us. He's not in love with our tempo, like our changing of drills when the whistle blows and the crispness in which we move. And that was one of the things that he talked about in the off season as a to-do. We got like a big to-do list, and that was one of them. So there are things that, like, we think from the outside you should just know how to do, but I'm telling you, there's an art to it. You'll get guys at the collegiate level. There was one a couple of years ago. He's not playing anymore. Who after the first 8 practices, I remember he told me he had never practiced like that 8 straight days in high school. Never had done it before. Now, you're probably like, come on, man. But I'm telling you.
No, you need a break.
And when you're the best player on your team, or one of the best players on your team, sometimes there's this tendency, especially in high school, let such and such get it. You know what you're doing. You want to be the player. If you ever want to be good, you've heard coaches say this, Drew Down. You want to be able to coach your best player. He has to be your best practice player. Mm-hmm. When your best player is your best practice player, you've got a chance. You've got a chance. I see it in hoops all the time, and it breaks my heart sometimes. When you don't, and it's something about the temperament, no shot at basketball, but ask the coaches. When you don't coach your best player hard, it's easy for the other 9 or 10 or 11. Oh, you hold him accountable. Oh, he's coming in late, or she's I see it in hoops more than I see it in football. But when you get the best of both worlds, you give yourself a chance. So there's definitely something to practice habits.
Right, and you. Okay,
you know what I mean?
Like, that's
deep.
I can hear that.
It's a little deeper than just the protocol.
maybe I was a little bit different, but those things did come naturally.
Yeah.
To
Part of it is your personality. Like
Right.
you're gonna right.
Right.
I mean, I watch like you're gonna work.
Mm-hmm. And I was always going to be the first one to finish on running drills.
It's
like
not
baseline to baseline. I'm the first one done.
It's not everybody.
Yep. Great point. And we'll talk about that competitive edge next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back, 888-638-4876. If you'd like to get involved, Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency 590, ESPN Omaha, live on Twitter, live on YouTube. Join us via StreamYard. Come see our bright and shining faces on a Friday.
Do I look like I'm sitting on the floor? I wish I would have looked at myself when she told me that, because I have no idea.
Well, I think we were both looking through the
looking glass
laptops.
Yeah, so like
we were just kind of like leaning forward.
So you know how sometimes I'll just randomly laugh, like when I read that, I was like, "What?"
Yeah, we're just playing Duck Duck Goose.
I look like I'm sitting on the floor. What do you mean?
Yes,
because the laptop was flipped up like this, so it was only catching us. Like right here.
I said, "Oh, Sasha's got jokes."
Yeah, yep, she was.
Dude,
when did she not have jokes?
Dude, how about her coming through yesterday with
your script?
Like,
did she write that for you?
No. Are you nuts?
I don't know. I was just curious. She came and just did she print off your script?
You talk about like knowing what I'm not good at. I was like, hey, I said, can you do me a favor? I know this is something I should probably know how to do, but I don't. So can you help me? And all she said was sure. And I told her I was coming to headquarters to get it.
Oh, just to print it?
Yeah, because the original script was a bear.
And you just touched it up?
I just wanted me only.
Oh.
Oh, man.
So she deleted everything.
And bigger, like I gave her one little idea,
mm-hmm. and
she brought me to that. And it was like 50 point.
Well, yeah, you looked at it and you were like, thank God, I wasn't going to be able to see this.
Bro, like it just... They were making notes and edits at like 3:30. I'm like, hey, man, number one, if you've ever heard this show, I'm not good with time. Number two, Lord knows I can't read. So
I'm not wearing my glasses.
Yeah, and I thought about it, but I left them in my bag. I was like, I'll go Ron Burgundy on you. Like, don't do that to me. And I just memorized it basically. So any changes, like you're rolling the dice, like just let me do my thing, right? So I was uncomfortable for like 3 days. Dead serious. Until I saw that.
Until you got the script.
Yeah. So then like there's just something about like the way that I process.
The clouds parted. The sun came down.
So like when I read, I can get it. Like I can absorb, and it was big and I didn't have to struggle. And did you see on the top, it said Damon only.
Yep, I saw that.
Those parts. So it's like, man. Okay.
It was nice, big, nice and bold.
I almost air dapped her.
Well, the reason I asked.
Hey, and she was in here for like 3 seconds. I was like, why? Did you see? First of all.
In and out.
Again, we buried the lead. Did you not see her whip her truck in here?
Yeah, she made it.
Bro, she parked in like the first two stalls.
Spot. Yeah.
Like that angle is sharp, man.
Believe it or not, it's a lot easier than you would think because of how open it is on that turn.
Dude, she whipped that pickup truck like it was a freaking little Hyundai.
I'm not going to say that it wasn't impressive, but I bet you'd be able to do that 10 times out of 10.
Dude, I'd have that Atlas on its side. Hitting like the 2-wheel motion.
No. How fast are you coming around that turn? You burning it? Are you shaking?
No, but it's kind of sharp.
You'd be fine.
I'm sure. I just don't want to try it. Look at this little dude.
Starting up his little blue baby.
I almost got us kicked off for the second time. I got away with one earlier. I won't repeat it.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember what you said. Oh, got it. Good whisper. That's like when you're talking to your kids.
Hey, Kenny, don't do that.
It's like when you spell it out.
Do you hear me? And you're like in the line at Target. And you're like, lady, I can hear you. Jimmy, put that back. Steven, we're not having gum.
Steven.
Well, I mean, that's how you got it. Like,
you.
No.
Okay. Sure. All right.
Okay. Deshaun.
Dominique.
Okay, let's not overdo it.
Oh, hey, so you know, speaking of that though, not what I was just saying, but like being careful about what you say around your kids because they'll like soak it up. Like I'm sure you deal with that with Zoe. I deal with that with Clara.
Just dealt with it the other day.
Right? You really have to be careful about what you say because even when they're not paying attention, eyes glued to the TV, something whatever they're watching is on. And she heard everything and brings it up 3 days later. I'm sure you've had that happen.
Dead dog serious. 2 nights ago, I was having a conversation on the phone about Caleb, and it was fairly serious. And I'm not thinking Zoe's paying attention much at all. And it's an adult conversation, so they're like big words, right? It was the night after the guys had helped me help take the Christmas lights down, and Zoe just broke out crying, literally. And she's like, I want lob. And I was like, OMG. Is she picking up what I'm putting down? Like, did I need to be more cognizant? So she had to FaceTime this guy. And he kept telling her, oh, I'm okay, Zoe. I'm good. But you're very, very right. Like, much more perceptive, like, than we think, right? That's 1,000%.
Well,
true.
and so I want to tie that back into what I heard from Stephon Wynn Jr. yesterday.
Hey.
Because he was talking about how encouraging it is to see the coaches buy into what Rhule's doing, and in turn, that leads them to buy into what everybody's doing. And it had me thinking of that exact thing, because when similar, when you have players.
Did you say Similac?
No, similar is what I said, and then I stopped. And
okay.
then when players react to coaches, they're always listening, right? Now they're starting to speak what the coaches speak. They're motivated to stand with one another because of the learned behavior that they're seeing.
What's that M word? Modeled behavior. I'm gonna go back. Remember when T-Mac, you were talking through me to him because he texted and we were talking about the Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah.
And you clapped back and you were like, hey man, I've been a day one, man, going somewhere with that Kool-Aid. And he came back with,
right up.
and he came back with the reason it's so believable. Do you remember this? He said the reason it's so believable is because his staff is for him. They don't want his job. He's just implementing his plan because of the way.
1,000%.
Remember that?
1,000%.
And he goes, he's just implementing his system, and his guys are on board. That's why it's so believable. And I was like, yeah, that's probably a lot alike, because you remember some of the duality in the messages in press conferences. You remember those days?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so he just said.
We were comparing it right away. Like, wait a second. Why did he just say exactly what Rhule said? And then, wait, why did the players say exactly what coach just said?
Which was one of those weird things that I was looking for early, because you have to have common language for a shared purpose, right? And we've come through just years of having it not be that way, with the exception of probably Bo, which is one of the reasons I think his players loved him. Like those players were I've
met 2 or 3.
Yeah, so like the reverence there, and I think it's because of the clarity of message. I say this. I mean, deep down, everybody wants to be led. Adults, kids, like people want to be led. They want good direction. They want clarity of message. Like they want to be led. I don't care what anybody says, right? So like early on, like when he said that about the staff, that's one of those things like practice habits. You're like, how do you not know how to practice? See, what I would initially, before T-Mac sent that to me, I was like, yeah, that's how you build a staff. Like, duh, in my head. But then I thought about when he got to the end of his summation about because they're on board and how they believe in him, they're just executing a plan because they've done it together before. Because it was like soldiers. What did we hear Satterfield say early? Now it's all coming together. And he's like, oh, if Coach Rhule's doing this and he's getting the administration right behind the scenes, then I know that this is what my role is and where I need to be because of where his attention is.
My role.
That's what he said, right? And I was telling you, and so those things don't make any sense to me early. All I'm hearing is, oh gosh, they know one another. But what's happening now is, and why he's continuing to coach his coaches through the message, is it's the model behavior. Because the more that they can do it, just what you just said, who gets the trickle-down effect? The players. And that's the most important thing. If you get any sort of production, because we wrote them off, but if you get any sort of production from Judy and Wynn, can you imagine? I can only imagine.
Great song, Mercy Me.
You know what I mean? So to hear them say that, he's telling you without telling you. There was not clarity of message from a year ago, and there was not a belief factor from here to wherever the breakage was in communication to here. When different guys come across as doing their own thing, What do you think? Why would the players believe it?
And I think it's because another real thing is the competition that's been brought upon them. Because with the new staff, nobody's positioned safe, which I find fascinating.
You like that?
Really fascinating.
I know.
I don't know if anybody else finds it interesting that
right?
Nobody has really a job right now. Like, there's no position that you can say, like, yeah, he's going to play that spot. You just don't know. And I'm like,
shoot.
I like it from the sense of, hey, they're trying to evaluate everybody fairly. I think that's what Tony White said, which oddly enough followed me on Twitter last night. That's
T.
my
White?
guy. That's my guy.
Does he know you have a man crush?
Probably.
Hey,
if Coach Rule listens to Benning Bites, maybe Tony White listens to the show.
Hey, that was wild. I missed that the first time because somebody. Oh, so my guy in Minnesota. Yeah, he goes
what?
Yeah, he goes Benning Bites.
Like the Minion and Despicable Me.
I go what? And that's I text like I talk. Right? I'm like, what? He said, "Oh, go back and listen to the first clip." And so I listened to it because I could see the picture of Anna with Coach Rule, but then I listened to it and I was like, "Oh, let's go."
Yeah, he loves himself some DB, and DB loves himself some Rule.
Let's not go that far.
And that relationship rules.
Stop.
Mike Schaefer, up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio, covering Nebraska football and recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Here is Mike J. Schaefer.
Yeah, that's a grown-ass man right there.
Mike Schaefer.
I don't know. There could be bacon involved.
Mike Schaefer.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks, Brian Edwards, for me.
Here is Mike Schaefer.
Hey, top of the hour here on Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. I am having the same feelings as Sir Wolf Job 14 on YouTube right now. Good morning. Feeling those vibes right now.
Hey, what movie was that? When Robin Williams said "Good Morning Vietnam"? Oh, Schaefer now.
Well, let's bring him in.
I bet he'll know. No,
Mike Schaefer here with us via StreamYard, as he is every single Friday. Schaefer, are we making you an 8 o'clock regular now? Is that going to be your time?
That is entirely up to the people that make decisions. I just show up when I'm told to show up. But I wouldn't mind the 8 o'clock time versus the 7:30. Either one's fine for me.
God, that
you guys
Shane,
set my schedule.
Shafe, that beard is looking extra sharp this morning. That is
Thank you.
That's a thing of beauty. I got back to Brunt, so I apologize. I was having a moment for about 25 hours.
Do you want to ask him about that movie first?
I am, but I have to apologize because he asked me about a camp roster, and then Bruntsy texted me, and I told him, so I figured he would tell you. So if I dropped the ball on that, I apologize.
No, you're good. We're good to go.
Thank you
everyone that knows you has experienced in not receiving the text back. So
yes, get him.
No, that's accurate.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Love it.
Look, the people that know him, they all understand.
So, but there are times though, Shafe, not to make excuses because I do own it. I need to go back and check it or leave it on read or something. I don't know how to do that yet. I'll figure it out.
Just don't click on it.
There are times where 15 or 20 minutes will go by of a hot topic, Shafe, and I'll check my phone and I'll have 11 orange dots. It's you know what I mean?
Hard to keep track.
Yeah,
I'm not super disciplined like that, so it gets away from me. But Shafe, what movie was that when Robin Williams said "Good Morning Vietnam"?
Isn't it the movie Good Morning? Isn't that the name of the movie, Good Morning Vietnam?
Shane, is that what it is?
I'm pretty sure that's the name of the movie.
Oh, that'd be so embarrassing.
It is.
It is.
Oh, I hate your delivery sometimes, Shane. Did you hear how he said it?
Yeah, isn't it the movie?
Isn't it the name of the movie? Dummy. I obviously didn't know. Jeez.
Sorry.
Fine. Hey, I hope your next Blackstone recipe fails.
Hey, Shafe,
you never know.
Speaking of movies, we had a question that was presented to us. Was it yesterday when we were talking about what movie best encapsulates what the Big Ten is right now? Yeah. If you could name a movie to describe the Big Ten
conference,
football conference, and the state that they're in today, what movie would you assign to the conference?
Man. Okay, talk about not being prepared for the question.
I wasn't either, but I went with the
internship.
Somebody else said the good, the bad, the ugly. I went with 300 just because I think people want to see the God King bleed, right? Michigan and Ohio State. And there's this little group of 300 that's everybody else trying to protect the sanctity of the institution. I don't know. Give them nothing! Exactly. Give them nothing.
So I took this an entirely different way.
It's okay.
The first movie I thought of, and the explanation may not make sense to anybody. The first movie I thought of was Police Academy.
Oh, Lord.
With the idea that none of these people, the Big Ten teams, particularly like each other, but there has become a common enemy, and that's the other growth of the SEC. And so, Ohio State.
Well, that's actually pretty good.
Ohio State's like Steve Gutenberg, and he's supposedly the cool with it one of this group of crappy cadets that have to make their way through the academy to then prove their worth to these people that just hold it against them the entire time. So I guess Police Academy is where I arrived. I don't I don't know that that's where anyone else would get to, but that's where I'm at.
And that's why we like you, because you're so unique.
But so, Mike J, let me ask you, what do you? I don't know. So, what do you think has happened? Because I don't really, because this is your area of expertise. But what do you think happened in the last couple of weeks that's kind of iced over the recruiting talk and buzz and feel goods over the last couple of weeks? I mean, it's got to be more than just Ginther and Heiberger and guys like that, or is that what it is? Because, I mean, they're shooting for the moon.
Well, I mean, I think that it's just kind of the realization that, people had hopes that this was going to be a top 10, top 15 class. And I think that's unrealistic. I mean, if you weren't, they still could, but let's say they don't end up with Dylan Raiola, it makes it harder for you to finish with a top 15 class. I think people had some real hopes kind of pinned to that. And so there's some air out of that sales. Obviously, they've received only one commitment coming out of the big visit weekend. So I think that, didn't necessarily lead to a run of momentum, but it's still relatively early. I mean, I just think a lot of it is just the ebbs and flows of recruiting. I mean, sometimes it gets really, really hot. And when he does, everyone's all excited and, ready to go. And now we're kind of in a cool down period, but they've got, they had the Iowa Western football roster on campus the other day, which is a really interesting thing to see. And then they've got visitors in this weekend. They've got visitors for the spring game. I mean, the recruiting hasn't stopped on Nebraska's end at all. I think that the emotional attachment that was built up to Dylan Raiola and then the cascade of emotions and largely the defense mechanism of, okay, I'm not going to get this worked up in it right now. I mean, I just think that's kind of the natural run of how recruiting goes when you're not, white hot on the trail.
Schaefer, stay right there. Is there ever a more important recruiting weekend over another? And the reason I ask is because Coach Rule is the type of guy to tell you to come over anytime, as you were just kind of alluding to. So I'm just genuinely curious. Is it more of a fan thing to say, well, Raiola, or here's 3 or 4 5-star recruits this weekend, so that's the important one? Or do you believe coaches recognize it and treat it like that too?
Well, I mean, I think they all have their own kind of value because there's different people coming for different weekends. I mean, I guess I initially took your question to mean the time of the year. And really, I have to be honest. I mean, right now, there's the most important recruiting weekends tend to happen at the very beginning of December before that period. So you've got your transfer portal stuff happening there. You have your late decision makers. You have the people that were committed to one school for a while that all of a sudden feel like they were going to take a look somewhere else right before the signing period. So from a timeline standpoint, it's that. From an emotional standpoint, I mean, yeah, fans around here talk highly of one of the Friday Night Lights that we saw a lot of talented players at, and that was 5 years ago at this point. So there's, actually more than 5 years ago at this point. So, I just think there hasn't been a lot of those where there's that star-studded. So I think it got really worked into a frenzy over that, and that's fine. I mean, recruiting is also supposed to be fun. I know this is really hard to believe. It is still sports. It is still supposed to be like an enjoying thing to follow. It doesn't have to be all consuming. It doesn't have to ruin anybody's spring. I know this is hard to say and even harder to understand, and especially as someone who gets way too invested in his sports teams. But it's that you can still enjoy this without it having to be like gallows humor all the time around here.
The irony of probably the original wet blanket of recruiting. Talking about the joys of recruiting.
Come on.
It made my Friday. That is, Schaefer, that's why I love you, man.
I don't know that I agree with the assessment of wet blanket.
It's like, well,
dial it down.
Mike J, do you understand kind of the duality of like Coach Rule's message? It's not only to his staff, it's been to the players. It's certainly been to the fan base where he says, we're going to win because this is Nebraska. This is everything Nebraska. Like, this program is going to win. But then in almost the same vein saying, don't assume we're going to win or it's going to just happen without embracing the struggle, because we are Nebraska. We have been Nebraska. Like, do you understand the duality of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it works on quite a few levels where it's basically have confidence because we've done it before, but also we've done it before, so it takes time and it has to take hard work. Like that's kind of the message you take out of that, or at least that I do. And that the confidence should still be high because this is one of the rare places in college football that has this level of success. And so you try to tap into that, you try to build around that. But yeah, it's not just going to happen because you want it to happen. If that was the case, Nebraska wouldn't be on this many coaches in the last 25 years. So I do think that it's going to be one of those things where it's going to take time. Like I don't think the TCU turnaround is in the cards for Nebraska in 2023. We'll put it that way.
Schaefer, who's it most important to understand that there's a difference between expectations and entitlement when you use Nebraska as the standard? Is it coaches, players, or fans?
You're gonna have to walk me through what you mean on this.
So, like, we're talking about expectations, right? Because we're in Nebraska, but then not feeling like you're entitled because you are in Nebraska because we haven't won anything. Who needs to understand that the quickest for this to work? The players?
The players, I would think. I mean, I think that ultimately they're the ones that have the most control over all of this, right? Like the coaches can do the best that they can to set them in the right, spot. And it's hard, I think, for the coaches to feel entitled at this moment because everything has started over for a lot of them. And because in some ways, there isn't that Nebraska connection that there was with the previous staff. So you get a little bit more of, okay, we have to prove it here. We have to build this here. We haven't earned anything at Nebraska. We haven't earned the right for people to think that we're a legend yet. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing for the previous situation, but obviously there comes along the entitlement with that. I don't think you have that with the staff right now because they have to go out and earn everything. With the players, you definitely have to have them. They have to build reason for expectation. They have to go do it themselves before there can really be that entitlement. Because if the idea is, well, I'm a Nebraska football player, that's not going to get you where you ultimately wanted to go before you became a Nebraska football player. You always have to chase something, right?
Could I convince you that I don't know if I would die on this hill, but initially I thought fans because, and this is weird, but if they understand the difference, then the patience level changes because I think if anybody needs to learn to appreciate the struggle for greatness, it would be cool if it actually started with the fans.
The thing is,
that makes sense.
It does. And I don't think you're wrong on that assessment. It's just that there's the least amount of control there. So if the expectation is I want to go and enjoy my football team, that means different things to different people. And then also there's an expectation of the university on the fans that you're going to fill the stadium, that you're going to support the team, that you're going to, support the team financially, all of those things. I think, the burden exists throughout the entire ecosystem, but the fans do have the least amount of control on anything. The only thing they can control is their messaging and whether they're going to show up or not. So I definitely get where you're going with it, but it all has to sort of
it was just a real time thought because I was like, for a coaching staff that seems to be so cognizant of what's around them and what's being said and what's being written and still managing to be able to do their own thing up to this point. Now we'll see what happens once articles come out on Saturday and Sunday, but I do know that they're cognizant. I just wondered if it's if fans kind of were on the same page, would it make embracing the struggle together? Because I do think that's part of his message, right? He's talking to his coaches about, hey man, we're just not going to walk out here and win. Like, I know this may be the best job for some of you. We're just not going to walk out here and win. For the players, it's like, we've lost 8 or 9 straight against Wisconsin. We've lost 7 out of 10 against Minnesota. Like, focus. But in the same vein, it's like, hey, man, we're Nebraska. Like, at some point, we're going to win. Like, I just think if if everybody kind of would, and I hate group things sometimes, but if everybody kind of was vibing, like Shafe's like, no, like if people were kind of like that, it furthers the all pulling in the same direction. That may be too myopic.
Look at you wanting everybody in the year of 2023 to pull in the same direction in the same way.
Oh, here we
with
go.
the same messaging.
That's easy, right?
I mean, it's Damon Benning's football utopia.
Oh, fudge. I think what it is, Schaefer, and I'm just keeping it 100 here. There's something about me that enjoys grinding, right? Like I prefer grinding kind of. There's just something more. I mean, we've won ugly before, and we got all this revisionist history about the greatness of these teams. I mean, 93, it wasn't pretty. 94 was even uglier. Like, 95 was cool, but you know what I mean? Like, I just enjoy the process because I know what happens at the end of having gone through it. That's all.
Yeah, well, I mean, the cocktail of not winning recently, and then the desperation of wanting to win.
Oh, there
and
it is.
then the fear of being irrelevant. You add all of this together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to ask a fan base to be, more patient than one that's watched 6 straight losing seasons, has basically watched the erosion of how people view the program. There's a reason.
What about ending the double talk of, remember when we first started? Well, they said it was going to take 4 years. They said it was going to take 5 years. And then after year 3, we're like, or year 2, we're like, this ain't working. Like those are kinds of the kinds of things that I'm talking about. Big picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, we can talk about that big picture, but you could also see throughout those pictures in the first 2 years, you're making a lot of the same. I don't know what we're litigating. If we're talking about the end of 2019, you saw a lot of the same mistakes that you saw at the beginning of 2018. So it's not like confidence was being built there. Like,
why can't we just cover in the lines?
We have to assess every situation differently.
Right, and now we're seeing that the standard is lowered too of when you have to win.
Well, I hope
because other coaches have done it.
I know.
So now, actually, I think patience is going to be something that.
So we're pretty much in agreement. It's a 2-year window. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
I think in the college football at this point, it is. I don't mean that like Matt Rule would be in mass danger if they're not.
I hear you.
7-5 at the end of next year, but the idea being there's not a lot of patience in the sport right now, and so it's hard to expect it out of a fan base that's increasingly, antsy over all of this.
Man, when talking about entitlement, it had me thinking about what Nuri said yesterday. I couldn't believe somebody came, like a player came with an opening statement, like written down. I thought that was pretty cool, pretty unique. But
dude, they've been hard on him. But I get it.
Cool though, because last year he had to learn to be a teammate, right? Because he couldn't play. And now I almost wonder, because we were talking about model behavior earlier on the show, Schaefer, and I almost wonder what players can actually learn from Nuri, just from being somebody that just had to be there for his teammates when there was no reward in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could learn a lot because he's a guy that's had a lot of life experience, and I think that there's a reason he's kind of built himself into being what seems like a vocal element of this team. I hesitate to say leader because I'm not over there, but it does feel like he's got a vocal presence, and with that comes probably some expectations and the leadership ideals from some of those guys on the team. And I think he's someone that this coaching staff thinks has another level to his game too. So they want to see him get beyond Nebraska to what's next for him, which could be the NFL. So I think there's a lot of pushing that's happening for him, and there's a lot of opportunity for him to show kind of how you can grow and develop. I mean, we're not talking about a guy that was expected to be in a position where he could be an all Big Ten type of player, but he's kind of built himself into that spot. Now he has to go out and do it, and he can help carry the offensive line, and that offensive line can help carry the team. But it's got to start with him, and then he's got to build around him, and then they've got to build around the rest of it. So I think he's no different than a lot of people, but because of his kind of vocal leadership that I think is there, he could be a very valuable piece to this whole thing.
And Schaefer, it's a shame you moved to practically Beatrice because I'd like to hang out. What are we expecting this weekend from the regional camp in Kansas City? Bruns, and I haven't seen the list. I didn't look at the list. I'm just going by what your colleagues said, that it was as talented a regional camp as he's seen that Under Armour's going to put on.
No, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people. The state of Nebraska is going to be well represented. I think all three of the Bell West trio. I know Omaha West Side, Caleb and the Rezaks are going to be there as well. As I'm guessing there's some others. Caleb Pye from. I'm sure I'm forgetting names, so I don't want to just start rattling off names because I'll forget somebody. But there's going to be a good Nebraska presence down there, and it's we talk all the time about the value of the Kansas City recruiting area, and it's one of the things that I think Nebraska has to figure out how to get back in there and have more success. And they have for a while. I mean, you really think about it, they haven't brought players out of there in any kind of consistent fashion since John Garrison left with the Bo Pelini staff. And so I'd like to see them kind of build back in there. And I think the state of Missouri and Kansas City, Kansas are going to be really valuable in terms of recruiting. And so they have an opportunity, to kind of build that up over time. And I'm excited to see sort of the talent that's going to be down there on Sunday.
We're talking to Mike Schaefer, Nebraska football and recruiting for 24/7 Sports at Mike J. Schaefer on Twitter. Mike, I asked this to BC. I asked this to Bruncy, and then Bruncy goes, "Well, you need to ask Schaefer tomorrow because BC and Bruncy landed on the same guy." Okay, so I asked him this question: who's your MVP of the first 11 practices?
My MVP?
My MVP, a guy that you get the sense that the staff is like really rallying around for most valuable.
Oh man, I don't even. My mind has gone like 1,000% blank because I'm trying to only figure out. Like I'm trying to figure out who they would have collectively said.
We can't tell you.
Right
I just think it's weird that they both said the same guy.
Like based on what you've seen, and I don't know,
heard or like
for 30 minutes of practice, or like DB.
It's not a right or wrong. You're just kind of deductive reason.
That's the problem. I'm so like dialed in on this. I cannot pull myself out.
I don't know if they're right. I just thought it was interesting that they said the same person.
I'm gonna give a name. I don't think it's the one that they gave. I say it because I think I'm as curious if a breakout could be coming, and I think that they like how the spring he's had. I don't know that he's the MVP, but I will go with Nash Hutmacher.
I like Nash. That was one of my faves.
And as I said, Schaefer will go the complete opposite.
Yep.
I guaranteed you'd go the complete opposite just because. Do you know what? Do you know who they said?
No.
Gabe Irvin Jr.
Okay, I definitely can understand why.
He also said you'd be the one that went out on a limb.
They're like, you gotta ask Mike, and he went deep. They went, hype and hoopla running back. He went nitty gritty.
Yeah,
polar bear D line.
I like what he's done. He's reshaped himself a little.
Oh, he looks amazing, right? If frame matters, he's halfway there.
Yeah. Production can follow. That'd be real big for Nash Hutmacher and Nebraska's defensive line.
Schaefer, we appreciate
it. Sensational, buddy.
Thanks so much.
Have a good one, guys.
We will talk again next week at 8. Maybe we do our own superlatives next.
No.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
So far, the changes have been really good. The coaches and the players helped me with a lot of the traditions and everything. We learned the playbook as well. So, I mean, compared to like how I was my freshman year, I think it's a lot more smoother. Being as though like I'm not a veteran, but like I've been around a little longer, so I know like what to do and what not to do. Just the basic everything when it comes to transitioning into certain and new areas.
Hey, welcome back. It's Friday, DB. Have I said that yet?
Do you think he thought I was serious? He might, because he
left.
Kyle? Yeah.
Did you tell him that he couldn't be in here?
No.
I thought
you're
that's why you
sitting right next to me.
My headphones were on, and I got bam, 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 bam in my ears because I'm listening to the bed music coming back.
That's
Elijah Judy.
That's a pretty truck.
It is. Ford F-150.
Yeah.
Think it's a Super Duty? No.
I don't know what that means, but
No, I think it's just the new F-150.
it's a little too much vehicle for me to drive, but I would like
Notice how he whipped it into the first two spots.
Hey, he did.
And it's not hard. I'm telling you.
Whatever,
When we
man.
leave, I'm going to tell him to back out. You're going to get in the
I'm
car,
not
you're gonna try it.
15
and I'm going to record it.
Flipping the softball fields, learning to turn corners.
Hey, practice
Sometimes
habits.
too cool for school. These guys.
Hey.
What?
Practice habits.
Don't be too cool. Hey, by the way, speaking of cool for school, did you see Coach Rule's shoe game last night?
He's always got good shoe game.
No, and I mean, he's repping. Now, he has those round laces. They're hard to keep tied, right? They never stay, like, I'm OCD, weird, right? So when I tie my shoes, I want them in the middle. And those just are the type of shoes that aren't going to stay in the middle. But they had blue trim, blue and gray, but they were white Adidas. They were sweet.
Well, you know why he was wearing those colors, right?
Excuse me, no.
Baylor Shireman's back.
Oh, so would you have done the announcement
on Insta?
Yeah, we're missing. I am. I don't know if you are. I don't do anything on Instagram.
Everybody does now. Everybody.
Like 10
like
miles?
that's become a thing.
Insta.
Yeah, Instagram.
I'm definitely not going to. I'm definitely not calling it Insta.
Well, and you can put it. You can put highlights together like easy. You can make a reel out of it. It doesn't get buried. It will always be fresh on the news feed.
If I had any technical or digital savvy at all, would I be dangerous?
You would be dangerous.
What are you laughing at, little dude?
Yeah,
this dude with pot shots just leaving.
Accountability. I mean, accountability.
What did he say yesterday?
He said accountability.
We did hear a word.
Yeah.
Yesterday that I liked.
Versatility.
Versatility.
Although I give you half credit for it because Coach Rule didn't say it.
I know.
It was a duty.
I wasn't like, but I know if he said it, somebody else had said it.
What did we talk about at the very beginning?
Now I need everybody to start saying
What did we talk about at the very beginning? The players are speaking like the assistants, and the assistants are speaking like the head.
And so another guy used it too, who's been very versatile on the defensive side. And he's also an offensive guy too.
AJ
Rollins.
And you know, when I asked Schaefer, Brunsey, BC, who their MVP was, mine would have been AJ.
Really?
Mine would have been AJ. And the reason for that is
you're not afraid to kind of drive in your own vehicle.
Go out on a limb.
Yeah.
Well, I
Mr. Gunnar Gatula and now AJ Rollins. I kind of like that.
So the reason I'm going to read you two quotes that I saw.
Well, good morning, Sasha. How are you?
First is from Tony White.
Okay.
Tell you what.
I like when you read. It's funny. Go ahead. Because you're close to your monitor.
Because I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm like you. That's why you like it.
Hey, and you notice if I can't see it's not coming to me, I don't even try.
You're just kind of
I quit. Yeah, it's
like, please start talking.
Yeah, whatever.
Hey, tell you what, that dude's a baller. He's again doing what we're asked. He's been over there for maybe a week now, and all of a sudden he's making plays. You constantly see him showing up around the ball, and he's got a smile on his face while he's doing it. Then you have Coach Rule, who started the notice, right? He started the notice for change. Tony White said he's observant with this on the sideline, with players, everything, constantly talking about the roster, where he sees guys and the athleticism and everything. He mentions one day, hey, try him over there. And lo and behold, he's pinching through there, making tackles for a loss. AJ Rollins wouldn't get that type of love if he wasn't doing the right thing.
That dude's a baller.
And the reason he's my MVP is I know he was a two-way player in high school, but it's very difficult to go from tight end in college to then say, hey, go back to what you did in high school on the line, and then try to carry that over and face off against guys that have been playing O-line their entire career. Like, that's a step up. That's a big change. And to be able to embrace it, to run with it, and be successful with it, you have to be bought in thoroughly. And if I'm looking for a guy through the first 10, 11 practices that's been able to make a huge step forward, and I like to also focus on a younger guy because now you're talking about upstairs, he's making a step forward too. Mentally, he's all there, putting in the effort. It's AJ.
Yeah, as much as I would like to tell you you're wrong, I don't think you are. I think that's pretty astute. And I think you'll be the only person to really be saying that, which I kind of like, because sometimes you have to dare to be different. But good deductive reasoning always helps. And I'm telling you, sure as I'm sitting here, and it's, again, this part is bias, okay? I like him. So I want to see him do well. Okay, now this is just an opinion. Watching him in practice have joy doing what he's doing lets me know he's always going to have a chance. I don't care what he does, whether it's offense or defense or he holds for the kicker. He has true joy in what he's doing. I don't know if you remember the story I was telling you about talking to him during practice one day, and I said, hey, man, like, I'm proud of you, this, that, and the other. And he's like, yes, sir, man. Love what I'm doing. I'm about to go hop over and get a rep on D.
Did he say yes, sir?
Yeah. He's fantastic.
The mannerisms?
He's a super
mannerisms kid. Matter.
So, I mean, he was just getting ready. They had just finished 7-on-7. Now they wanted to do 9-on-7 and inside run game. So he's just going to flip over and go get a rep. Anytime you enjoy doing what you do, you're going to give yourself a chance. You talk about simple versus easy. It sounds simple, not easy to do. If you enjoy doing what you're doing, you've got a chance to be successful. That's why, like, finding jobs in your sweet spot are imperative, right? So, like, when he's enjoying just being on the football field, you're going to find a way to survive.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And I just, Shane, I don't know how long of the audio you got. Play white 20. I think it's white 20.
Iron sharpens iron. You know, starts with Coach Dono. He's a old school blue collar type grinder, and those guys play together, and it's really making us better. I mean, it's fun to go against those guys because you can see them working. You can see them always constantly getting better, challenging the defense. They're making us really know the game and really know what we got to do. So it's really neat to go against those guys.
Okay, iron sharpens iron. Have we heard that before?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Then he also used one of my favorite words, the G word, grinder. Those kinds of things, when you love doing what you're doing, you embrace. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Iron sharpens iron.
Which is why months ago when it somehow sprung up in the conversation with BC, I was like, why don't we ever talk about whether a coach loves what he's doing? Coach Rule's a football coach. He loves coaching. You get, if that part is modeled behavior,
mm-hmm.
If loving what you're doing is modeled behavior, imagine what you can do together.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's the expectation. That's why no one talks about it. But it's not always true.
Most times it isn't. Most times it isn't. And I hate people. They don't want to hear it. Some people are just naturally good at what they do, so they do it. But do they love it? Love it. Coach Amanji talks all the time. You can't just use the word love. Love is, and he gives these different examples. Love is, would you take your brother's pain? Would you swap places with him right now for those reps that you know he's struggling to get through? That's love.
It's like the scene in Coach Carter.
Okay, so the practical application of that is, I know you've been a tight end, DN your whole life. Man, I could see you playing in a little 4-eye. You could play in a 5. I could slide you down a little bit, sometimes playing a 3-tech. If you love it, you don't look at it as like, I'm good, right? And challenge yourself to that in anything in life. If you love something, when people ask you to do a variation of it, it doesn't typically bother you as much. It just doesn't. It doesn't. If you love training, another 15 minutes doesn't bug you. If you love distance running, another mile doesn't bother you.
And when you see 15 seconds left on the clock before you need to switch, you're not switching early.
If you love writing, a couple of extra paragraphs don't bother you. It's don't.
And you're really seeing the love on certain guys lately. Nuri was one of them yesterday. He couldn't stop smiling.
And you know what? Good on him, too, because like I said, I think it's been tough. It's been tough.
We'll see if you're smiling after this round of trivia that we're playing next, because this is going to be tough.
Great.
That's next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. If you're on StreamYard, that doesn't look like me. No, that's Kyle. Kyle, welcome to the show. Shane, can we get him potted up? There you go. We good to go? Go ahead, Kyle. Say it again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, there he is. All right, so Kyle is here to play trivia against DB. It's something that we do every single Friday on the show, or at least try to. And the segment's called Just Dog Ate Dog. So, Kyle, I'll break the rules down quickly. I'll give you 3 questions. You get 3 multiple choice answers, and then I'll give you a tiebreaker question. That's just in case, you guys match up in the end. And then we'll welcome DB back in. He will not get the answer choices, but he gets 1 Hail Mary, which he can use for the answer choices. Cool. Sound good? All right, if you win, you're taking home a Hail Varsity Club gift card. Shane, nice timing on the music there. Let's get this thing going. Kyle, who's the only NBA Finals MVP to win the award while playing for the losing team? Is it Jerry West, Willis Reed, or Magic Johnson?
I'll go with Magic Johnson.
Okay, question number 2. Sergio Garcia won the 2017 Masters. And in 2018, named his daughter after the famed flowers of Augusta National. It's also the nickname of the par 5 13th hole. What's her name? Is it Rose, Camellia, or Azalea?
Azalea.
And question number 3, the Penguin streak of 16 straight playoff appearances. That's right, Sasha, which was the longest active run in the NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL, is officially over. Which NHL team currently holds the longest playoff drought? Is it the Red Wings, the Sabres, or the Senators?
I'm going to go with the Senators.
All righty, and cool. The tiebreaker question. How many Stanley Cups have the Canadians won?
Go with 12.
All righty, thank you. Kyle, can we welcome DB back in? Sasha on the move to go get her fellow Penguins fan. How you feeling?
Iffy.
Iffy.
NHL stuff's always a tough one, you know?
Okay. Fair enough. 3 different areas, though, so you may have an edge or 2. DB's back, ready to go. He's hustling. See, this is what happened. We were talking about this already all show long. When the time is up, you run to the next station. And that's DB right now. He's running to get back on the air.
I was on the phone. I'm sorry.
All
right, what do we got?
You feeling good?
Kyle, do you feel good?
They're tough.
Oh, fudge. Here we go.
All right, Shane, get the music going. Round 1 for Damon Benny. Who's the only NBA Finals MVP, DB, to win the award while playing for the losing team?
You serious? Who's my favorite? Who's my favorite team?
And don't call me Shirley.
Who's my favorite team?
The Los Angeles Clippers.
That is a lie. Those are tenants in common. It would be the Lakers.
Oh!
You threw me a softball. It's Jerry West.
Question number 2. Sergio Garcia won the 2017 Masters.
Yeah.
In 2018, named his daughter after the famed flowers of Augusta National.
Come on, man.
It's also the nickname of the par 5.
It's Azalea.
And question number 3, the Penguin streak of 16 playoff appearances, which was the longest active run in the NFL, the MLB, the NBA, and the NHL, is officially over. Which NHL team currently holds the longest playoff drought?
Pretty good. That's tough. And I want to save my thing for the bonus question. Do I get options for the bonus?
No, it's just closest to. But now I'm starting to wonder, since I gave him a so-called softball for the very first question, maybe he doesn't deserve the 3 answer choices. But I'm a rule follower, so I'm going to give it to him.
I'm going to go with. God, but they won a Stanley Cup. That was with Hashik. That was years ago.
You can have the choices if you want.
I'm going to go with the Sabres.
And the tiebreaker question, how many Stanley Cups have the Canadians won?
Oh, Lord. Closest to?
Closest to.
Oh, fuck. 9.
Let's play.
All right.
Ready for the answer?
The first 2 I know are right.
Okay, DB. Sorry. I'm sorry I didn't challenge you enough today.
Well, I mean, anything Laker history.
That's a great trivia question, though, with the playoffs rolling around.
It is.
Yeah,
but that one, I know it's Jerry West, though.
Yeah. Should we skip that one? He said Magic Johnson. You said Jerry West.
Yeah.
The only NBA Finals MVP to win the award while playing for the losing team is indeed Jerry West.
Let's go.
DB up.
Right there.
It's okay. Sergio Garcia won the 2017 Masters and in 2018 named his daughter after the famed flowers of Augusta National. Her name is Rose, Camellia, or Azalea. You both said Azalea. You both are correct.
I thought, whoa.
Let's go.
This
is the one.
The Penguins' streak of 16 straight playoff appearances is officially over. Which NHL team currently holds the longest playoff drought? Is it the Red Wings, the Sabres, or the Senators? Kyle said the Sens. DB said the Sabres. It's the Sabres.
Let's go.
Right there.
Nice work there from DB. 3 for 3. The tiebreaker question, though, would have gone to Kyle if it were close. How many Stanley Cups have the Canadians won? Kyle said 12. DB said 9. The answer, 24.
Yeah, 9's a little short.
You
Trust me, I know about short.
Yeah.
Man, that's pretty good, though.
Not bad from DB.
That's
Not
pretty
bad
good.
from good old DB. He's going to go into the weekend feeling even better than he started the show.
Well, I got to talk to Sautter coming up, so I need all the feel good I can get.
Kyle, man, we appreciate you stopping by, taking some time. Thanks for playing. Unfortunately, I can't give you the gift card.
No, we'll be talking to him later. You can finagle some good drink out of it.
Yeah, probably. Kyle, thanks, man. So you really gonna dog me for giving you a Lakers question? Like,
No. I'm not.
Okay,
I just felt like that.
I was like, I'm not trying to like challenge your Laker history.
No,
by
I
any
think
means.
that one was in my.
Just in your wheelhouse.
That was in my wheelhouse.
Thank you very much, Sasha.
And I'm
coming in
kind of
clutch.
like I have the biography, like the book. It's like 400 pages. I lent it to Michigan Lance once, and he read it.
And he never gave it back?
No, he did. He brought it back to the barbershop.
I've been
dropped
that
it
guy.
off.
I've been that guy that forgot to give a book back.
So that's why I never watched the series, Showtime the series, because I read the book, so I felt like
Is the book better than the show?
Yeah, it's one of the few books outside of the Bible, James and the Giant Peach, The Big Friendly Giant, and
what a great category already.
The White Mountains that I've read.
Was there?
I think I read A Wrinkle in Time.
Was there anything in the book that you were just like, wow?
Yeah, I knew I hated Norm Nixon. I never.
So that doesn't intrigue you to want to see how that would portray on TV?
No, I'm with you. It did, and I knew it got a lot of scuttlebutt once Jerry West wanted to threaten to sue. And I knew Seahap and those guys were like kind of all in, and I wanted to jump in, but once I knew West was mad, I didn't want it tarnished, so I didn't get into it. Because they said that they were going to take some liberties, right? I mean,
Right.
in essence,
Right.
So I was like, nah. I read it.
So when we talk Lakers, let's go present now.
Yeah.
Does Memphis have enough to take down the Lakers?
I mean, they're young, but I don't think so. I don't really, but
I think the series goes to 7.
I hope not, because I don't, and they're not playing back to back, so the Lakers have a chance. What's the series price? Do you know?
Not sure. I didn't look that up, but I'm probably leaning Grizzlies in 7, but I'm not confident in that play at all.
They don't have great depth
at all. Well, you don't have Steven Adams either.
No, I know.
So who's guarding AD?
No, I'm with you.
But is AD going to ball out like we saw?
I mean, is he
him?
going to play every other night? I mean, he could.
Right.
In
the playing game.
I think the toughest series, though, is the Cavs and the Knicks.
No question. No question. That is so hard to judge because who knows how Julius Randle's feeling right now.
But they have depth, right? And they like the Hart and Quigley thing, they're tough off the bench.
They are good, but you have really good defensive size on the Cavs.
Oh, yeah.
And
But they only have
Mobley and
4
Allen.
good players.
Sometimes that's all you need.
No, it should be plenty, but they'll have to play well. It's like the Knicks depth because they can get out of bed and play 8, no problem. And I think the Cavs probably have the better 4. Nah, I don't know if I go that far. But they do have 4 really good players.
The best series would be Clippers Suns if Paul George was playing.
See, I'm just not in on the Clippers. Jacob and I were talking about this yesterday before he left from NEB Press. Was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago. And something about the Clippers bugs me. I mean, that team was penciled in all year as the team with the most depth and the deepest team in the West. And I just don't think my main man, T. Lue, hasn't had a great year. It's supposed to be a deep team.
Well, and you also have your 2 best players as glass vases on the floor.
Oh, I know what
at any point.
I know what that's like.
Yeah, I know. But if Paul George was healthy, I would say this series goes to 7. I would still lean Suns, but I would say it goes to 7. Kawhi's going to have some Kawhi games. They'll steal 1 or 2, but they're not going to win 4.
I hope you're right. Maybe.
Mike Sautter in the house. We'll be talking to him next. Best team in the NBA playoffs is who?
I'm gonna go with Boston.
Same. Boston Celtics. They're
But
my
I,
favorite.
but I don't listen. You ask me tomorrow, and I may say the Bucks.
Yeah. Once we see the Bucks actually play, yeah probably they are insane, even without Middleton and Antetokounmpo. Sautter up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
I would agree, Damon.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
He is in-house, as he is every Friday here at Hail Varsity Club. Live from the H&H Chevrolet stage. Coffee and Cream. Back for the 9 o'clock hour. KFOR in Lincoln right now. But if you are just driving around Omaha, turn that dial to 590 ESPN Omaha and stick with us the rest of the show. We have Sautter, then we have Omaha Whiskey Fest, and then we have Matt Vrzal to close the week out. But he's already in. I was going to say, let's welcome in Sautter now, but he is already in StreamYard. So what's up, Sautter?
I guess I'm here.
Hi, Mike.
I'm here. That sounded very enthusiastic this morning.
Yeah, I'm just trying to still get the dust out of my eyeballs. And
yeah, it was windy yesterday.
Man, baseball last night.
Were you cleaning out your ears with a Q-tip and you're just pulling out dirt?
Baseball was rough.
Did you expect that to be closer?
A little bit, yeah. I thought it would be. I would say this. When I was at Elkhorn North, versus Elkhorn in the EMC championship game.
Albert Einstein.
And
equals MC squared.
Ryan Harrow can he's got some gas.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's like there was fourth inning, fifth inning. He was it was fifth inning. Just struck out two guys and it was quick. Just good luck. You're not hitting this. I'm just gonna throw high heat and good luck. Try and catch it.
As a guy that likes to take chances, but also kind of has a comfort zone by Michael Jerome Sautter.
Mm-hmm.
Which of the new sports that you're kind of trying to promote and get into, whether it's, track and soccer and softball and wrestling and baseball, because you're diversifying and you're going in knowing that you have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Which one's been? Give me the most fun, and then give me the most difficult.
Well,
maybe they're the same.
Wrestling, I have a background in. Like I wrestled in high school, so I know the sport. I understand it. So that one's a little easier, right? That and they are super welcoming. Like the community is like
it's a great group.
It's like our guy Cody, and then Chuck, who I do. Mike Chuck podcast.
They're truly trying to grow it.
Dudes. Really good dudes.
And it's growing at a rapid pace.
Yeah. Soccer is a little bit easier, I guess. I mean,
and I would think that one would be tough because sometimes soccer fans aren't as inviting if you're not kind of in the know.
Right. Baseball is very much so the same, kind of like wrestling. Like they're like, oh yeah, like please come to our stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Soccer is kind of a little more, it's its own, it's just kind of in its own world, I think.
Well, it's its own personality.
Yeah.
Like I played soccer. I know what the soccer fans were like, but even still covering events, I don't think that I ever felt like,
I don't feel like
I don't belong here, but I will say it's a little nichey.
I will say a little.
Did you say Nietzsche?
Yeah.
Nietzsche. Are you a historian?
It's a niche.
Well, Nietzsche comes up on this show.
I don't know soccer as well at all. I just know the 38th minute or what, math. So I know how to count like that. And then, I mean, set piece, I just know some of that stuff, but the other thing, like, I don't know. Exactly. I don't know, a lot about it. I just am there to kind of do what I can do the best I can with the best job that I can with what the knowledge that I do have. Or if I don't ask, I mean, frankly, like Nick Rubeck is a stud.
He's a great. So it probably helps, right?
Like
that he's secure enough to kind of put his arm around you. He's a great dude.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And he loves. So my thing about him, it's what we were talking about in the first period. Like Rubeck's one of those guys where he's disarming. So he makes it okay to, like, even though you may come from a different background or have different thoughts, like he's inviting enough where you can still be yourself and it's fine.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Yeah,
right. Like he's a good dude.
And if I have a question about soccer, like Monday night at the Metro Soccer Championships, I was kind of sitting next to him a little bit, and I asked him, like, hey, what happened? Not what happened, like who did what I missed something, like, and he just shared, like, he's pretty good about it. So no, no big deal there. No big deal, like Doc. So, yeah, it was good. I mean, soccer right now feels like
no big deal.
Exactly. You know, high school soccer right now is Gretna girls are squarely, I think, pretty easily the favorite, and it's not really that close. And in boys, it's, I don't know. Like I would have said Gretna, but then Prep beat them, and then you know it's still probably Gretna, but Papio South's pretty good too. But Gretna already beat Papio South early. I don't know. So state tournaments are coming in like literally a couple of weeks, like for spring sports,
which is crazy to
yeah,
think about.
It's almost May, right? Like it's the middle of April, so stuff will be coming. First week of April or first week of May is like baseball and soccer kind of get going. So the first part of the month. Yeah.
Big news.
Yesterday.
At the NSA board meeting?
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
I think very deeply. Thank you. I mean, I thought it was fairly big news, right?
Yeah. I mean, shot clock coming. Well, a couple of things. Like, so on the agenda, and I don't go to every NSA board meeting. I only go if I look at the agenda and I'm like, I probably should be there for this one.
Because yesterday was funny when I called to get some fill in the blanks, and you're like, glad I went to this one. Like that's what he said to me in the car.
Yeah.
It's like
if there was one to be at,
it's just funny how he said it, you know, because he talks like he thinks. Glad I went to this one.
So Class B gets a shot clock. Class B gets a shot clock, and it's not a trial basis.
Yeah, no pilot.
Like there's no pilot year or whatever. So Class B permanent shot clock, which some Class B schools already have them. So it's what it is.
Good for the class?
Yeah, absolutely. And then Class A, they voted, to take that off of the 1 year trial basis and make it permanent. So both A and B is going to be permanent for a shot clock. So it's trending. I think when we all knew, over a year ago when A was implemented with a shot clock that it was going to trickle down. And it'll be very interesting to see when it starts to maybe trickle down to like the C1 and C2 conversations. I think that will be a lot harder to get through than B was.
You won't see 8071.
Yeah, B was pretty much a slam dunk, like from the beginning. Everybody knew that it was coming. And frankly, Scottsbluff, Dave Hawksworth, he was the one that put the proposal out through the district meetings and things, so that made it a little bit better too.
Yeah, because people forget that the NSAA actually works as a representative of the charter schools. It's not like NSA thinks like,
you have to do that.
What can we do today to to make people mad?
Yeah,
to really piss people off.
It's all about the member schools basically make the decisions. And today there's a meeting today at 10. The legislative board, like subcommittee kind of board thing, so it's happening, and I looked at that agenda and
to revisit
a lot. Go ahead.
To revisit.
No, it's just their time of the year that they get together, so it's nothing, and it's like some bowling stuff in there and kind of different bylaws.
Speaking of which, go Huskers.
Yeah, go Huskers.
How about Trev bringing that up last night on a humbug? You think he's not in tune with what all of his sports are doing?
Yeah, Nebraska, they win
like,
national titles.
I need to go make sure do I need to get out and get to bowling?
You probably should.
I remember watching Wayne win
Vegas,
the state championship a couple of years ago.
Pretty cheap at flat. Well, he doesn't have to.
Is it in Vegas?
Yeah.
I think it's
yeah. He probably doesn't have.
They
to
get McKendree, and then it's Vandy, and is it Arkansas?
So did I tell you about the SEC story where I watched the Vandy bowling story?
No.
Dude, they found that guy in a humbug, and he turns out to be one of the greatest coaches ever. Turned the whole program around. Started the first year with like 4 bowlers. Nobody had ever bowled before. I mean, it looked like me, you, and McGee. I was like, wow,
maybe
this dude's legendary.
Maybe,
and talked about the signature moment when they beat Nebraska.
Maybe I was just gonna say maybe they found a guy for the football program.
Who do you think on this Nebraska? This is totally off topic. Who do you think on the Nebraska coaching staff would be a really good bowler?
Matt
like Mookie Betts is like that guy that you're like, how do you bowl 300s on the regular?
Matt
I think it's Matt Rule.
Pickleballer.
Matt Rule is going to find a way to be good at anything.
Yeah,
it's just this. Yeah. He challenged you to eating fast.
I feel like Ed Foley would be a really good bowler.
Do you? He's a great guy. Sautter, let me ask you.
So the 90-day transfer thing.
That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's what I was going to get to. I mean,
so the board voted 6-2, and frankly, I was shocked. Like, I was like, whoa. They basically cut the 90-day transfer window by a week or two, depending on, certain things. So what that means is prior to yesterday, I guess, if you transferred after the May 1st deadline, you had to sit 90 days in order to be eligible to play for, said your new school. Well, now, as this bylaw reads, if you are enrolled in the school that you're transferring to on the first day of school, you can play, or you're eligible after the moratorium, which the Christmas moratorium. So it moves it up by, normally that
so
day,
basically you can't do anything. The moratorium is you can't really do anything from whatever, the 22nd through the 27th of December.
So you met for basketball purposes, you would miss
the first couple of games in January.
You would previously for 90 days. You would, depending on the school's calendar, though. So, like some schools, it might be January 8th. So other schools, it might be January 14th. It just depends on when they start school. So that's the 90-day count. Now it's uniform. Everybody has the same. They can start on the same day, whatever the date is. It's the 28th or whatever December. That's the exact date that everyone can do it. I think that's why it got kind of approved.
I think so I talked to 3 ADs yesterday just to kind of sample.
Right.
Especially after getting some coach feedback. Do you know what I think it is? At least and they have AD meetings. You know what I think it really is? I think it's if you're enrolled and you're as 2 of the 3 use the exact term, which makes me assume that they all talked.
Yeah.
He said, if you're a student athlete and you're trying to do things the right way, we're not going to punish you for another 16 days for trying to do the right thing.
Right.
He said things happen and we want to be sensitive to that. Right. So I felt like, and the other AD that I talked to said that it's not a big enough deal either way to compromise the uniformity as long as kids' intentions are to be enrolled.
Yeah.
And they're on the first day.
It's really not. Like it's not.
So I mean, I'm not valid. Yeah. I'm just trying to give the catalyst for it seemed, and I'm with you. Yeah. Like I was a little surprised because you don't often hear like, hey, you know what? Like, what's really good? What's common sense?
Right. And
this seems to be kind of common sense.
Everybody's been thinking about and saying for a while, and now it's just they're implemented.
Well, I mean, was it really necessary to get into the nitty gritty of a different number of days?
Right. And it's all based on when said, like if Millard started on August, I'm just throwing out examples. If Millard started on August 14th and OPS started on August 22nd or whatever, then the calendar, then people are adding days and making sure the correct days are. It's frankly, it's more just monotonous, headache work for athletic directors to have to try and figure it out, and coaches, and you might as well just take that. I mean, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Now, I have been on record and will be for a while. I think it should be 180 days. I think if people want to, if people want to argue we have so many kids transferring all the time and we just like all the people that are up in arms about it. Well, I haven't seen a proposal yet, which means never, for 180 days of a sit out. So if you have a big problem,
I mean, that's the school year.
Yeah. So
and I just don't think you want to get in the habit of having a kid sit a whole year because
But the people that complain so much about about kids transferring schools and all that, guess what?
It would never pass.
I'm just saying, just do something about it then.
Yeah, right? But so I get it, but that's kind of like that's kind of like bully tough talk, right? Like it's not feasible.
Just try and do something about it. They're not even trying. They're just talking and complaining about it. And rather than complaining about it, like, what's funny though too, and I will say this: some of now I'm on a soapbox here a little bit. Some of the people that complain the most about transfers, hey, look in the mirror. Have you ever benefited from it? You probably have.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm vibing.
You know what I'm saying?
There's usually always
Like,
some hidden message in what you're saying, so
but
I'm trying to. So, but I don't know who's complaining. You know, like I don't have that backstory.
Right.
No, I hear from Coach, oh, have you heard this kid transferring here and we lost this kid here and da da da. I'm like, okay, but you never benefited from it at all, right? Like, no one's ever transferred to you, huh? Like, if they haven't, then you can complain. But if they have, then you can't.
No, shoot, man.
Never.
I can see that
ever.
point.
That's just my,
You ain't got to tell me
Now,
twice.
now you're not talking about like if a kid like in their family move
That's
out of
different.
a certain school district,
Totally
right? You're
different.
just talking
This is
like,
if
hey, I'm
there
moving
isn't
for a better
a
opportunity.
Domicile change is totally
I'm with
different.
it. I'm with it.
Domicile change is totally different. Lincoln keeping state basketball for another 5 years because Omaha didn't care enough to actually put together something when they were actually on the agenda.
Do you think they would have gotten that moved if they were?
Ooh, it'd be tough. I don't see.
So maybe they just didn't think it was worth
I
their
think
time.
Lincoln would do whatever it takes to keep this state
here's
basketball
the
team.
reality of the matter. I think when you're talking about the powers that be between the cities, was the juice worth the squeeze
Probably
to
not.
really try to take that from Lincoln?
Probably not.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
No. Yeah.
I don't think so at all.
Also,
like, what's the point?
yeah, it doesn't. It's not that.
You want them to travel 1 hour further east?
Who
Like,
cares?
what?
Not a big deal.
It's not.
Right.
Yeah,
right? Because nobody's closer to Omaha than they are to Lincoln than it would
Right.
affect.
Yep.
Right. It's not.
Do you know what I mean?
And it makes
so,
a
so
lot
why
of sense
so
to-
why make the rest of the state? I won't say nobody, not as many that
Right.
would be at state. I mean, I just don't think that fight is.
It's not worth
It's
it.
not worth it.
But Omaha was on the agenda. So Lincoln wins, and I thought it was funny. Like the Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau guys, Jeff, he's great. And they were ready to roll, right? They had like tchotchkes and they brought in breakfast and for like the board members, and they had a full pamphlet and all that stuff. And so I mean, it's important to Lincoln to keep that. I also think they were probably really upset when they lost state baseball to Omaha. So I think it was a little bit. Now you don't have as many. Okay, you don't have as many like hotel rooms and stuff for state baseball and other things as you do for state basketball. Specifically, state basketball, you're talking 8 days in a 2-week time frame. So that's a lot of hotels for people.
Are you going to Kansas City or what are you doing?
No, our good friend Mike Schaefer called me the other day and asked me.
He was fantastic.
He
was great today.
That would be an easy dude to hang out with.
No, he's a great dude. So he asked me if I was going. He called me the other day. He's like, "Do you know anyone going?" I'm like, "Well, I think the West Side guys are going, but you could call Damon and ask him for sure." I said, "I am not because I will be at AAU basketball on Saturday in Des Moines."
Are you guys going?
No, I'm not. So I was like, I probably don't want to get divorced, so I'm not even going to bother asking if I should be gone all day Sunday, on a last minute notice thing is probably not a good idea. So now I probably would have gotten away with it because actually the EMC baseball championship game was supposed to be tonight and they moved it up a day.
Mm-hmm.
So now this is the first Friday night that I have technically off in since like January, maybe like Christmas. I mean, so I probably could have maybe you see me Sunday
out in Kansas City.
Maybe we'll see if I can.
It works because Micah plays there anyway,
right?
Isn't
so Caleb's not going.
Yeah,
Caleb's not going to Des Moines Saturday.
No,
right?
and surprisingly, like I kind of had to hear about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
it's totally Mosman.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
But they have other guys hurt.
Fire.
There's other guys hurt. Though,
I could
so
see
that's
it.
why it's they have Kevin.
Hey man, we got a spot for him. Is he playing? I'm here. Man, get out of here.
AAU basketball is what I'm talking about, boys. So ETG, the schedule's pretty good. Like they play Mocan and the 16
Martin
15s,
Brothers.
and
It'll be really good.
Like it's the
two best teams in
two
Iowa.
games
Or two best teams in the
Right.
area. The
Yeah.
two best programs in the area.
outside of
ETG, I think.
Yeah. So Mocan 15 and 16s. They have Chuck Love and Amari Bynum on that team. So they'll be maybe a little, that might be juiced up a little bit that game. So looking forward to that. Me and I'm
Padawan.
I'm driving
Jacob Padilla.
I'm driving the probably not freshly shaven Jacob over there in the morning.
How much would you pay? Let's be honest. How much would you
4
pay
hours
to just be in the back seat of Schaefer and Padilla on a roadie?
Schaefer and Padilla?
No, I'm sorry.
Sautter
and Padilla on a roadie.
How much would I pay?
Dude, I can hear it now.
I'm picking him up at 8 a.m.
This is how it would go.
I'm picking him up at 8 a.m. We're driving.
Sautter would be so mad and petty about what one coach said to him or one fan. Man, I can't believe, I work so hard. These guys sending me text. Like,
Jacob would rebut.
And Jacob would be, this is totally JP. JP would be like, Mike, like, what's the big deal? Like, well, I mean, that's just like, why get so worked up about it? Like, just move on, Mike. Like, just. And Mike would come up with something. Man, I was at softball last night, and these people are like, you're finally covering softball. And I'm like, WTF. And at softball. And then Padilla would be like, Mike,
why are you letting people drive you?
Why are you letting people drive you so crazy? And then about the green, they'd be at like the next exit, right? Mound City. Sautter would be like, man, I was at soccer. I got these tweets, and this coach said, I said, like, listen, MFer, like, I've been here. Like, I'm trying I'm trying to help your sport. Jacob would be like, Mike, like, why are you getting so worked up? Then they get to the next stop. They're not even in KC yet. They're at the last second. They haven't even taken a bathroom. So it'd be like, man, 62. Man, I mean, we're talking about 14 days. 14 days from the 90 days, man. Like, why are these coaches mad at me? I don't make the rules. Like, talk to the charter member schools. Like, they're the ones that proposed it. Like, talk to your guys. They're in the profession. Like, why are you mad at me? Right. Like, I'm not the Mike. Like, why are you getting so worked up? That's how it would be. I guarantee you.
By the time you get to KC, you have a book.
I'd be like, hey man, you want the cracklins or the pork rinds? Man, you'd be like, nah, man, I'm a plain chip guy. All right, get your popcorn. We'd be in the back seat just laughing. That's exactly how it's gonna go.
The drive back though, we would be breaking down every stinking possession by a 14-year-old.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, that would be great. So I'll give you the way back. On the way back, Sautter would be like, man, you see Vrzal? I mean, 6'3.5", 200 pounds. Like, man, he was moving pretty good. And Jacob would be like, yeah. So when they went one-on-ones and he was on defense, he had 6 PBUs, he had 1 interception, and then had an almost. And then on offense, when he flipped around, he had 6 catches on 7 targets. On 7 targets and
0.18.
And Sautter would look at him and stare, and he'd just say, hey man, I was just trying to say he got a good day, man. I didn't know that.
I'm not looking for the works cited page.
Jacob will have 55 pages of notes, and Sautter will be trying to give an opinion, and then he'll get mad at Jacob for giving him stats.
Yeah, and for talking too long.
I'm just picking him up at 8 a.m. tomorrow. We're gonna go watch some basketball. That's all I know.
Hey, I'll just buy him breakfast. I'll set up the GoPro. How about that?
We'll act like two of the most fiscally savvy people in America. Who's buying breakfast?
We ain't stopping for food. I'm telling you that.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm bringing it with.
Jacob, better pee before you go. Thanks, Sautter.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Whiskey
buddy.
Fest up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm going to preface this, 888-638-4876. If you know the answer to this trivia question, you will take home tickets to Omaha Whiskey Fest. The question is, since we're doing a segment all about drinking here, as legend has it, what former MLB player claims to have once drank 107 beers while embarking on a cross-country flight, which he consumed alone? If you have that answer, give us a call, 888-638-4876, and we'll give you some tickets to Omaha Whiskey Fest. Now let's welcome in our two guests. First, we have Lori. And Lori, I didn't even catch your last name. Why did I only get first names?
Because it's personable. We're not in education where they only call people by their last name.
Thank you, my guy.
I'm just trying to help you
He's
out.
helping me out. We have Lori and Zach. Lori, the owner of Spirit World and a board member at Omaha Whiskey Fest, and Zach, the owner of Brickway Brewery and Distillery, also a board member of Omaha Whiskey Fest. Welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
This is new for us, so this is kind of
Yeah,
cool.
normally we're just coffee and cream, but now it's maybe we add a little Bailey's in there, huh? And have a little fun on a Friday.
And I'm totally out of my expertise, so I like learning. So I can't wait to hear about it because
we're out of our expertise being on a sports show. Zach and I were laughing. We're like the two people they sent to a sports show were like, oh my God, we can't talk about sports.
For a lot of our listeners, drinking is a sport. And one in which they participate while they're watching sports. So it's like it works.
Can you tell us about the event?
Absolutely. It is our third event that we've done. We started in 2020. It is Omaha Whiskey Fest, and it's all about education around different types of whiskeys. It is October 7th this year. We've got about 65 whiskey vendors. It's we take over the entire second floor of the Hilton downtown. And so it's spaced out. It's like 60,000 square feet. And then there's a cigar tent outside where you get some other whiskey. It's a really comfortable event. You want to take off on that, Lori?
Yeah. So I just going to mention, it's our third time doing it. We did it about 3 weeks before COVID hit. And then we postponed. We did our second event in September of last year and moved it to the Hilton, and it was really successful there. So I think we found our home for a while anyway, and probably 1,500 to 2,000 people and a whole lot of whiskey.
So it's extremely popular. I'm actually kind of in the minority, no pun intended, when it comes to whiskey, just because of its versatility, right? But most of my friends, and you see it in bars, right? It's typically dark heavy because most people either like whiskeys or bourbons.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about whiskey's versatility? It doesn't matter. Like it's not even a cultural thing. I mean, I could be someplace at an event in the South. I could be in the Midwest. Its versatility has range, and it doesn't look a certain way.
Yeah. So for one thing, I will say, when people say I don't like whiskey, I tell them that's like saying I don't like food, because the flavor variety just spans such a wide range. You can get anything from really light and fruity to really dark and deep and molasses and brown sugar.
We talked off air.
You're
very, very savvy. She's a mental note taker.
So I just think there's such a wide range of flavors that everyone can find one they like. And a lot of people have, with a lot of different alcohol, they have a bad first experience with something and say, yeah, maybe I'm not going to try that again, or I don't like whiskey. But this event gives you a chance to kind of expand your palate and sort of test that approach. Whether you are a whiskey drinker, of course, we have a lot of people that are just like big collectors and get to try really cool
blue collar or super high end.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The range is unreal.
Well, the price range is so wide too. I mean, you can get whiskey anywhere from $15 a bottle to thousands. So it's really you can play with whiskey at any price level and flavor profile.
And for Omaha Whiskey Fest, it's about education. I hear so often when people come into Brickway for tours, I don't like whiskey, but I love bourbon. And so we're all about educating people. Bourbon is whiskey, so is rye. Rye is whiskey. It's like, imagine a tree and whiskey's on top, and all these different varieties of whiskey come down. And we love sharing that information, educating people all about the world of whiskey.
I'm that guy. I asked this, and this is for the bourbons and the Cadillacs.
Yes.
Stop.
See, I told you. I was telling you that earlier.
So what is the difference between whiskeys and bourbons?
Well, bourbon is whiskey.
Okay.
So a Venn diagram, like the big circle is whiskey, and then inside the big circle,
so
you have
the middle
bourbon,
part is colored.
Scotch, Canadian, Irish, Japanese, all the different types of whiskey, rye, bourbon.
What's the difference? Where do you cross over in names?
It's how it's made. So it can be mash bill. It can be there's certain standards.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
I you look at
I didn't put my head forward.
Well, I listened with my face.
Mash bill is just the grains that are used to make the distillate.
Okay. So bourbon, that is probably the biggest drank American whiskey, and so the rules, it has to be mashed with 51% corn. We're in Nebraska, so we've got a lot of corn. That's why bourbon's being made right here at Brickway. Then it has to be matured in a brand new charred American oak barrel, and it has to be made in the United States of America. So it's like the champagne of whiskeys for America.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. Can we try some?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Who's we?
We're trying some together.
Let's start with the Brickway.
I suck at drinking whiskey. I am so bad at it. I wish I was good. My brother will always get like a glass after work, just put one ball of ice in there. And I'm like, how do you do that? Can you teach me how to be a good whiskey drinker?
Full disclosure.
Does that help?
Should we keep it interesting and have them try the Brickway and then
Full disclosure. I'm not a unless it's wine, I'm not a sipper. I drink. Am I supposed to sip this? Because I'll be the guy that will just drink it and you'll look at me sideways and be like, God, that guy's awful high functioning.
No, it's funny. We often tell people it's not a shot.
It's
okay. But this is the Brickway.
This is the Brickway bourbon. Yes.
And it should be room temperature.
So every spirit we make, our qualities, it needs to be good enough to drink warm and neat. And if it meets that standard, we're willing to release it. If you like ice cubes, we can certainly add those to enjoy it. We just don't have any at the moment.
I like it. I like neat.
You ready?
Yes. Oh, that's a clang. Ready?
That's pretty good. And I like I said, I'm bad at drinking whiskey.
This is kind of new for me. I would liken this to kind of a base reposado. Almost. Because I like
tequila.
Yeah. Like I could see this a little.
It tastes a little lighter on the stomach.
It's really well balanced.
I didn't get the warmth either. Usually, like
I got a little bit.
You get the raw, and I'm like, that's okay. So, is there a correlation there? Am I way off? Or
no? I was going to say, I think what you're picking up on is the oak. So both tequila and reposado tequila and bourbon would be aged in an oak barrel. So that's kind of the consistency between those two. Now the distillate is different, but
I'm not as dumb as I think, or as our listeners most times
think. That's good.
I'm not. That's okay.
All right, what are you pouring over there, Lori?
all right, okay. So since I heard a rumor that you like fruitier flavor profiles,
It's word on the street. Done our homework.
So this is so we had the opportunity to do a few barrel picks for Omaha Whiskey Fest, which means we get to sample different barrels of whiskey and choose our favorite, and then they'll bottle it the entire barrel with our name on it. So we have a Whiskey Fest board barrel pick, and this one is from George Dickel, which George Dickel is one of our sponsors, and they make Tennessee whiskey that has a little more fruit forward flavor profile. So I think of stone fruit like apricot, plum, but
I just cleared my palate.
Mm-hmm.
How you feel about that?
Go for it. Tell me how it tastes.
Why am I the guinea pig?
Like I didn't get one.
I poured you a rye.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the other one?
This is the rye. So this is Knob Creek rye. This is one of our other barrel picks. And the flavor profiles in this are a lot more spicy and stronger flavor profiles.
Okay.
So
see, this is my portion right here. This is all I need. This right here is all I need to get going.
I kept it lighter. It is early in the morning.
Appreciate you, Lori.
Well, saddle up. We got one more whiskey. Our title sponsor this year is Crown, and so we brought the Crown XR. Real high
Very
Crown.
Good.
Excuse me. It's my first time doing radio.
I'll take that too.
Yep.
Crown's range over the last 3 or 4 years has been unbelievable.
Crown's been my
and maybe it's just kind of my sphere of influence, but it went from like kind of the common man's drink, like, hey, Crown and water or Crown and whatever diet, to its versatility now is pretty extensive.
Well,
like
for one
the
thing,
flavored Crowns, I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, they've come out with a lot of flavors. So apple, peach, vanilla.
That's my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Give me a Crown apple and Sprite, please.
Those are amazingly popular.
Grow up.
No,
there's a lot going on in there.
That's how I
All you just
vibe.
need is the chill
whiskey
and
sour,
neat whatever it is.
Man, I'm telling you, whiskey sours may be my wedding drink of choice. All right, should we try this before we have to get out of here?
Yeah. Fantastic. Hey, give us the date again.
October 7th. Tickets are on sale starting today, so you can go to omahawhiskeyfest.com and buy your tickets.
And you can get tickets with a room as well. It's safe to get a room, so stay at the Hilton downtown. You get VIP and general admission tickets and a room.
Call to action. Where can they buy the tickets?
omahawhiskeyfest.com.
That's where you need to go. Zach, Lori, thank you so much
That
for
Crown is
taking
dangerous.
some time. That's what I just said. I go, ooh, that's my cup of tea. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
This was
Appreciate
really
it.
Appreciate
fun. And the event will be super fun, too, so get your tickets. We'll be back with Vrzal next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at. Telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How does that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
We are feeling good.
I'm okay.
Winding down the show. No, we're feeling good. We're taking in some Brickway. They left us the bottle. Thank goodness for Zach stopping by. as you said, we'll have to split it. But I think
he was so nattily tired.
We're gonna have a game night. It's gonna be Jay, Ashley, you, myself,
barricaded Ashley,
maybe Zoe, but she can have something different. And we're playing games and we're drinking that bottle.
Did you like the fact that Zoe wanted me to see her school picture today?
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Like, how about her hair? I got a great protector though. He doesn't wear a bodysuit. He doesn't, to my knowledge, always carry his gun. But he is a great protector, and it's Matt Vrzal.
All right, good intro,
Maddie. Hey, Maddie, I gotta send you this picture of Zoe from this morning. She wanted me to see her before she went to school. Man, can I bring her in to come say hi?
Yeah, I'll be there. Well, we got lunch at Scout, so I'll be running back and forth.
Well,
but hey, I got some recon information for you though, DB.
What do you got for me, boss?
So evidently, that dance and cheer team that Zoe will be on.
No,
that is very, very, very expensive.
No.
But you may need to start saving now.
No.
Yeah, buddy. Like you're talking.
Oh, good. Hey, like Uncle Burrs. Like, he's a big fan of dance. Yeah. Hey, go hit him up.
They were
sponsorship.
They were quoting 5 figures for high school.
Are you nuts?
Nobody.
What?
Like I'm seriously worried for you.
Well, hey, if I need a part-time job, you got me?
No.
Just get a call back.
Hey, did you hear what he said though? No.
At least he's honest.
No. This is ugly working here, Damon. You're too pretty.
Well, I haven't the last couple of times I haven't been afraid to get that flour on my shoes or anything at least. That's progress.
You kind of stand over in the corner. You don't get in there.
You did it. Because I'm afraid to be by the food. You move fast. You're throwing stuff in the air, man. I don't want to be in the way.
Hey, if I was going to tell you, Damon, that the Williams boy was here right now planning to work for 12 hours, what kind of odds would you lay me?
Oh, man, I'd give you, because I'd have to pay up, I'd probably give you 20-1 just because I don't think it's going to happen. Is he there now?
He is standing right next to me.
Oh, good for him. 12 hours, though?
Yeah. Here's what happens.
Oh, here we go. That's my former teammate's son. His mom's class. Yeah.
Last night.
They got sauce.
Might have thrown into some adult refreshment.
Were they at Spirit World or Brickway, or where were they?
Well, no, they are in Minorville, so hopefully they were just at home.
Whoa. So how do you know that's what they were doing?
Because that's all they've talked about for the past hour.
Dude, that would be Maddie.
So yeah, they called bullpen, and I was like, initially I'm like, that bullpen call ain't getting answered. I'm just gonna tell you, you gonna screen that thing and be like, nah.
So I know on those mornings where you have lunch, you're cranking out what is it 100, 150, 50? Like what are you cranking out for pies?
We got 160, and then we got another 10 going to high school.
So is it just the two of you?
No. The other two are here.
It's Crazy Connor.
They're just the pace is not going. We've hit a wall already. Real fast.
So who else do we have in there slanging? Who else is on deck?
Footy's in here.
Well,
you know Footy.
Oh yeah, Crazy man. What else we got?
Chase is in. You've met Chase a couple times.
Yeah. Chase.
Gucci's up front with Connor.
Hey, there's Crazy Connor. So
are you sure you don't work there?
So here's the funny thing about Chase.
Footy's got a mullet now too, by the way.
So
it's pretty sweet.
Matt was getting at me a couple times, like it was kind of serious conversation, and I won't even say what we were talking about, but he had to look over at he looked over at Chase and he's like, hey, we're fine. This is just how we talk to each other.
Yeah.
Poor kid was traumatized.
Like scared as all heck.
Mild is good.
Hey, so
did you just say mild as all heck?
No, scared as all heck.
Scared as all heck.
Heck.
What do you want, Maddie? What do you want me to say?
Heck?
Oh my gosh.
No, not you.
Okay.
He's talking about me.
Oh, I know.
Are you one of them?
What's that? No, he's actually not afraid to cuss. No, he's not that guy.
Okay, great.
Oh, yeah. Cyberlong. Hey, so I just don't. I don't cuss Verz in text or DMs or anything. Like on social media,
in person or on break, he's like,
yeah, I got a sailor mouth.
Okay, perfect.
Oh gosh.
If I had two alleged non-cussers, and we're going to end this Friday session.
Hey, so Maddie, first of all, I got to apologize for Monday because I totally forgot. Friday was so good. I wanted to bring you back for Monday, and then Monday's show got away from us, so I'm sorry. But let me ask you this. Help me, because you've said a couple of things in the last couple of months where I'm like, wow, okay. Where you said, I'm on the clock now. This is what I've asked for. This is what I've wanted. Now Coach Rule is kind of doing it. I'm going to put myself on the clock because I've kind of ran my mouth. Last night, I watched T-Phrase, Clester, just kind of hold court with Coach Rule. And, that hasn't happened in forever where, former players and coach felt, comfortable enough. What's been what would you say is the difference that's kind of allowed this self-inventory? Graham was kind of the same way, and he's got a guarded heart. He was fantastic Wednesday. What's been the difference for you guys, do you think?
Well, you got a terrible read on Graham, number one.
Well, he said he had a guarded heart.
You know how to appease Graham. Just tell him he's awesome. I am. Come on.
Dude, he picks a fight with everybody. I told you, he's an equal opportunity offender. It's wow.
Rule. Like I said, man, Rule is seasoned at this. He knows if you go over, I guarantee you this, he knows he can go have a conversation with Tommy Frazier, but he can't overinflate Tommy Frazier because Tommy Frazier will be like, I don't trust him. He knows. I mean, it ain't his first rodeo. He's been around the world twice in the 2 Madison County goat ropes. He knows what he's doing. So you just let the relationship happen, and then you evolve from there. But you make it seem like, guys are anti-Nebraska.
No, I'm not gonna be responsible for your insecurity. That's not how I'm making it seem.
No,
I'm stating the facts. It's never really been open. It's never been openly embraced in the last 7-8 years.
If your phrasing makes me feel that way, then that's how it's interpreted.
No, man. Well, that's on you. I can't control that.
But
you can ask me for clarity.
You can change your question.
You can ask me for clarity.
No.
Okay.
I don't have time to catch in the wind.
All right. Well, I ain't got time to babysit.
But anyway, you do that anyway. But it's a deal that it's not a matter. You're talking like Tommy and Clester, probably 2 of the better BS sensors out there.
Yo, for sure.
You're not going to blow smoke.
Really good radar.
So, yeah. So but you have to let things happen. You have to let them evolve. You can't. Nobody's been friends overnight.
Except me.
So you just let it happen and talk to them like a human being and treat them like a man and see what happens. If they like it, great. If they don't, well then, door swings out.
Wait, what is the door swings out? Oh, that's good.
Or would you like me to clarify that?
Yes, get him.
Yeah. Why? What do you mean?
He goes, do you need me to clarify?
No, I know what he means. It's just a great saying. I know what he's saying.
I know, but it was more of a jab
That
at what
means
happened
you don't
a
like
minute
it.
ago.
He's an idiot.
You don't like it or like the way I'm doing it, the door swings out. First to exit.
Verz, I got a quick question, and we only have about 1:30, but I heard yesterday when players were talking about the O-line, how inseparable they were, the brotherhood, the camaraderie. I wanted to ask, based on when you played, how strong was the brotherhood and camaraderie for your O-line and how that transitioned to the football field?
So they're talking about the current Nebraska one?
Yeah, the current one, about how much stronger they are. They spend all the time together.
Just from now on, So, Andrew, I'm going to ask for clarification on every question either of you ask.
Hey, don't worry. I won't skip a beat. I'll give you one.
Here we go.
Okay, organization. Like, if you want to build an organization, you have to have a tight culture and a tight core, right? The linemen are a lot of times the heartbeat of the program. They're the heartbeat of how the organization itself is run. If there's any animosity in there, it doesn't work. So we are all still thick as thieves. If we get together, somebody will be tapped in the nuts within 5 seconds of seeing each other. Somebody will be ridiculed for being fatter or balder than they ever were. And that's how we go. That's just how it rolls. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Those are some of my best friends.
That's for sure.
Great point. Great point.
Finally said something of substance, man. I appreciate that.
If Damon would ask clear questions, he would probably be one of my better friends. So he likes to cloud it up and then not.
Wow.
Oh, Verz, we appreciate you, man.
He likes to cloudy, deny, and then blame me. Hey, TV.
What?
I got a price sheet for it for that cheer stuff. It's expensive.
Hey, man. I don't even know what to do with you. Love you, Maddie.
I'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey,
yes, you will. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week.
See you, boys.